This is Pop Culture Confidential, and I'm Christina Yerling Biru. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. It's time to count down our 20 best films of 2025. What an incredible year it's been for cinema. Joining me today, someone I've been lucky enough to see many of these films for the first time together with at festivals. We've recorded many episodes, shared bold opinions. My cinematic partner in crime, Ryan McQuade. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Christina. This is nerve-wracking as hell.
It is.
And I have been just moving things up and down the last 24 hours.
Me too. I just want to start to say how fun it's been. We've been to several festivals together, lots of these movies we've seen, and there's something very specific about having a working relationship when you work with film and cinema and pop culture and art, because somehow the conversations get so personal. I think probably more personal than in other jobs with other colleagues. I mean, I know what you cry at, you know what I cry at. We talk about what sort of affects us, and it becomes like a very special time together. And I'm just wanted to say thank you for this year, and I hope that we have the same amount of great experiences next year.
Oh my God. Oh, now we're gonna get emotional and we haven't even started talking about the movies yet. Oh my God. Well, no, I totally agree. I mean, listen, for all you folks out there, it's really nice to go to these film festivals and to go and see all these wonderful movies. I mean, we've been to Cannes and the mountains that Telluride. I was in Toronto and New York and Little Middleburg and Los Angeles and all these different places. We've gone to all, and all the places you've gone to, over the year. You've been traveling, I've been traveling. It's been a year of travel, really. And that's not even including the first half of the year, where, usually it's, there's people go to Sundance, or I'm at South by, all the crazy stuff. But it's so much better to be able to do this with people you love and people you admire and people you respect and people that want to just have a good time, and it's not about this or it's not about that. Life is very, very hard these days. It was not to allude too much to it, but it was a hard weekend for news. There's an ongoing tragedy in Hollywood right now with the loss of Rob Reiner. And it was like we talked about with the highlights of the year, moments of the year. It was a rough year. We lost a lot of great talents. And so it's nice to know that in their absence from here on out, there are artists that are still challenging the form and pushing things forward and exciting us and getting us to laugh and cry and question whether all the way the intentions. I think some of the best moments are when you and I don't vibe on a movie and we're trying to figure out why we don't. I remember just really, really hone in on the fact that, like, I was so amped to see Springsteen at Telluride, and then we both looked at each other and went, huh? So those are always the best stuff. And I will
Spoiler,
say,
not on my list.
spoiler, not on my list, but I love doing this show with you. We're going to do a lot more in the new year, more to come on that in the future. But also it's not just yourself. I mean, we did a lot with Sophia and we did a lot with Eric, and we wouldn't be, and they may not be here today, but we're kind of like a tandem of four. Uh, and man, we've had great discussions and emotional discussions and funny discussions and great meals and wonderful drinks and everything in between. So I'm looking forward to more of it in the new year. It's my favorite. It's literally my favorite thing
Yeah,
in the whole
mine
world.
too. And now we get this possible task of we've decided to rank our 20, which just there, it was hard. What we're going to do is I'm sure we're going to have many of the same. So if we do have one that's the same and think we'll talk about that film, but then the other one can sort of keep a secret as to where they've ranked it. I've tried to do a kind of a mix of small movies, of sort of bigger movies, of there might be a few docs, possibly some mild spoilers, but most of them have been released. But there may be some who don't have distribution or a documentary that's a little bit harder to see or in your territory may not be there. But I think most of them will probably you'll be able to see.
Well,
But
that was a good question I had to ask because I was like, does films from that haven't been released yet, do they count?
the Oscar year, 2025.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't. There was one that I don't think qualifies, even though we saw it this year, and so I moved it to next year. But
Okay, well, that doesn't count. But if it does have theatrical release 2025,
it played at all the festivals.
if it can
It
be
can't
Oscar
be
nominated,
Oscar nominated. All
no,
right, cool,
then
cool, 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 cool. That made
all
well,
right.
honestly, it made it very easy because I was like, oh, I was debating over 21 films. I'm like, which darling do I kill? And then I was like, okay, well, that one technically counts for next year, so let's just move that over there.
Well, I have 10 honorable mentions, so technically I have 30. If they come up, if an honorable mention comes up, we can mention that as well, and then we'll do
Yes,
those
yes,
at the
yes,
end.
yes,
All
yes.
right, you get to start. Number 20, 2025, Ryan
Oh,
McQuade.
oh, this is it's such a great year for cinema,
It
and
is.
it was a hell of a lot harder than last year. And when I get to the honorable mentions, like I killed some darlings here to prop up some films, but I ultimately was like, what are the 20 films I want to watch right now? Like, what are the 20 I really want to pack in? And so there was some that were in my 10 that I moved down because I was like, I want to watch these more than I want to watch this. So I have a top 25 that I love, but like for the purposes of this, we did a
Yes.
20. So I had to kill five. My number 20. Ooh, I can't believe we're starting this. My number 20 is Nia DaCosta's Hedda, which is her take on the classic Ibsen play about Hedda Gabler. And I think that it's such a unique film in general of an idea for DaCosta, who has mostly been stuck in IP slop over the last couple of years since her really stunning debut, Little Woods. Her trajectory with Candyman and the Marvels is well documented. But here is where I think she finally gets to announce herself as this is actually the filmmaker I want to be, taking this Ibsen play that's so well known and giving it a black queer angle to it that is extremely topical and extremely modern, and just absolutely gorgeous film. Like Sean Bobbitt's cinematography, the costume design, everything's on point, centered around these two titanic performances from Tessa Thompson and Nina Haas, who are just absolutely incredible, dominating the screen. Leaves it's a very fun, prickly film that just like probes and asks questions and has character dynamics that would normally just be straight couples, but now that it is these two women are in this role and have these relationships, it adds different angles to it and it makes this sort of twisty tale a lot more interesting. And I think that when I talked to Tessa Thompson and I talked to Nina Haas in my interviews over at AwardsWatch, we talked a lot about reinterpretation and claiming things back that you couldn't talk about at the time that were innately queer or innately, of a different, set of, race dynamics. And and I think that they did that in total 100% ways. So Nia DaCosta finally getting to make a movie that feels like her. She's got another film coming out in
She's
like two
coming back.
weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna just tell you this. This is the only thing you're gonna get out of me. Uh that movie rules. She's on a run right now. So
Love
of
it.
all the directors that I had, I was like, she's the one that I kind of just was like, I want to see what she can do. And this movie gives her the chance to do that. And so yeah, it's great.
She was a hard honorable mention for me to put because I loved
Oh.
Hedda, but this was a hard darling. I agree. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's beautiful. It continues a theme of the year, which I love so much, and that's how much art is important,
Hmm.
and changes your life and what it means emotionally. Um, Incredible performances and just gorgeous. So I agree. This was a hard cut. Everyone has to see
Yeah.
this movie. My
Yes.
number 20 is writer, director, actor Eva Victor's Sorry Baby,
Mm.
which they have made this incredible movie about basically two undergrads. Agnes, who is sexually assaulted by one of her professors, and it kind of is sort of before and after. And in a very matter of fact, frank, very heartbreaking, grim, but also witty way, she talks about this trauma or shows this trauma that this character goes through. And I think this is a really remarkable movie, which reminded me very much of the style of Phoebe Waller Bridge, of Michaela Cole, being able to put your finger on trauma the way that they do here. I cannot wait to see what Ava Victor does more because I think it's absolutely a style that, you know, quirkiness, but with a depth that I found quite unbelievable in and great cameos, several short, very heartbreaking scenes that I thought was really, really interesting.
It's a little bit lower on my list. It's in my top 50. I know that that's going to sound crazy, because I know a lot of people love this film, and it's starting to pick up a little bit of awards attention. Victor was just nominated for a Golden Globe. It's such an interesting film for a first-time director, and really, it seems like a very personal subject matter. I've listened to Victor talk multiple times about it, and um, I don't necessarily know if it's fully executed cleanly enough for me, but there's so much to respect about it, in terms of its frankness and boldness of the subject matter, and so it's one of those. It's the classic Ryan McQuade, Jay Ledbetter director watch special. When we used to do our old show at In Session Film, Extra Film, we'd talk a lot about directorial debuts, and we would say, I respect the hell out of that thing. I can't wait to see what they do next, and that's where I'm at.
It's such an interesting way to deal with trauma of this sort because there's not much you can do other than deal. And I
Yeah.
don't think that's how movies and art particularly have show it otherwise. It's just
Yeah.
move on forward, be there, and I think for anyone who's been anywhere close to something that happens to her or the character of Agnes in here, will recognize what
Yeah.
she's going through without spoiling too much.
No, I think Naomi Ackie and Lucas Hedges round out like a really solid supporting cast. There is one character in that film, the sort of super jealous colleague or student alongside her that
You have trouble
I
with?
know that I I know that character's supposed to be grating. I found her so obnoxious, but I guess that works to the effect. I really want to watch it again. I mean, haven't seen it since January. It was one of the films I was able to catch with the Sundance Virtual platform. But I still really respect a lot of it. And that last 20 minutes of the film, with John Carroll Lynch,
Yes,
sitting there on the side of the road, it's absolutely incredible stuff. Like, so that just shows, like, right
you
there,
need to
you're like,
watch it
oh,
again.
there's
50 is a bit far off on a list for this
it's not
incredible.
number 50, but it's in the range of there. I just don't, but I know it's a very special film.
All right, number 19.
Number 19. Um, I think we have to like talk about one of the great collectors of time, and he seems to be getting his flowers. And he had two films this year. We were lucky enough to see both of those films. We saw his first film together at Cannes, and that's Richard Linklater's Nouvelle Vague. But that's not the film I'm going to go with. Number 19, I'm going with Blue Moon from Richard Linklater, starring Ethan Hawke and Bobby Cannavale and Andrew
Just
Scott.
say that
And
that's on my list as well. I'll let you
okay,
know where it comes, but we
um, just a really fascinating film, obviously about Lorenz Hart, who was part of, um, Rogers and Hart, this great songwriting duo. And this is, of course, on the night in which Oklahoma, with the beginning of Rogers and Hammerstein, and Hart is lamenting about his life, his career, his music, sexuality, everything, all in between. As we know that his life is about to slowly end here in the next couple of years, and we see that sort of flash in front. Linklater is a master of collecting time, and it's very fascinating that he made a film this year about the invention or the birth of something in the French New Wave, in Nouvelle Vague, and then about the death of this music. And I found it to be, for the first time in Linklater and Hawke's careers as this wonderful duo, they're starting to talk about death and
Mhm.
time and artistry. Hawke is obsessed with the idea of former figures in history. He has made multiple films, he's played multiple characters,
Documentaries and
documentaries, you name it.
Newman.
You've talked to him, I've talked to him. I talked to him about this film. It's an important subject matter to collect to look at our past and have a firm understanding of it so that we can embrace and know our roots and where they're at. There's something truly tragic about Lorenz Hart, though, and his performance, which is an extremely wonderful performance. It's so transformative because, like, Ethan Hawke's a very like normal sized man, but Lorenz Hart's very small. So the camera angles in which they have to move up and down,
Yeah, and they do
um,
ditches so he could walk
so
in
that
the
he could
set.
walk
Yeah.
around.
An
Exactly.
absolutely transformative, incredible performance by Hawk.
Absolutely. And it's all on resting on his shoulders and that dialogue. They waited like 10, 15 years to make this darn thing.
But what's so
And
wonderful about this character too is
yeah,
what's wonderful about a character like Salieri, right?
absolutely. And shout out to Robert Kaplow, who is the writer of this, who worked with Linklater on Me and Orson Welles, another really good film about sort of the stage and everything there. But Linklater is on a roll. He's been making really great films in the back half of this career. And again, it's just he's such a great collector of time and has been throughout his entire career. And he's an artist that understands, like, he's getting older, and so where is his place in all this? I think sort of being retrospective about Nouvelle Vague and how he was part of this movement in the 90s of independent cinema, the way that the French New Wave was, but then also looking back at the fact that, like, he's his last song might be written at any moment. And so it's them talking about themselves for the first time, talking about death, which is very interesting because they've been making movies about love, and they made movies about
Growing
fatherhood and
up,
boyhood and growing up and all these things. And now the boys that you've loved on cinema for 30, 35 years, they're talking about the end. And it's profoundly sad to talk about, especially as two
we're
guys that
old,
are
Ryan.
are innately South Texas like myself. So it's I've grown up with Linklater and Hawk, and yeah, they're the duo that I hope never dies, as opposed to Lorenz Hart and Roger Rogers. So they delivered something really special here. So that's my number 19.
Yeah, that's coming up for me in just a
Yeah.
minute. But for my number 19, I think it's a movie that you have much higher up. And I debated to put it a bit higher up, but here we are. And that's Wake Up Dead Man, A Knives Out Mystery.
Sadly, an honorable mention for me.
What? You love
Yeah,
this movie.
I know I do.
So Ryan Johnson's third foray into his Knives Out world, here entering the spiritual realm, as it's about a priest played incredibly by Josh O'Connor, and much more personal film for Ryan Johnson, which you talked to him, so Ryan grew up in a religious family and has sort of pushed that Wayne has had lots of questions himself about, faith and where it stands, and has surrounded this new Agatha Christie-esque mystery in faith. And it feels a little bit more deep for him than the other two. So I think it definitely deserved to be not much higher up than this, but certainly a film I very much enjoyed. I love the cast, and I
I
thought
love
this was going to be on your list.
again, have to kill your darlings, and there was so many honorable mentions. It's in the 10 of honorable mentions. It's one that I mean, the Knives Out mysteries are just, or as Ryan Johnson would prefer them to probably be called, the Benoit Blanc mysteries. They are so much fun, and they're so different every single year. But this one in particular, I think, might be the best one because of the point that you made, Christina. This is a much darker tone for Johnson, therefore a much more personal tone. I just had a conversation released on Monday that you alluded to, or I mean on Friday that you alluded to, that we talked at extensive lengths about the dark themes that are around this and the sort of the idea of faith and the idea of weaponizing faith and all this stuff and what has been sort of bubbling inside of him over the years. And I rewatched the film with my wife over the Thanksgiving holidays, and that Bridget Everett scene
Oh,
is
so
really
good
one of
on
the
the
best
phone
scenes of
scene.
the
Yeah.
year. It's so good, and it's what separates this one from the rest of them. This movie slows down and deals within the humanity of the characters. And I found that to be really interesting for Johnson to do inside this puzzle box. And so I'm so glad that you did put it in your 20, because it's a movie that deserves to be there, you know.
All right, 18.
18. This one I know for a fact is going to be higher on yours. So I won't speak too much, but I want you to speak on this later. My number 18 is Josh Safdie's Marty Supreme. And
That
so
far up. I can't believe it. Absolutely on my list. Love this movie.
I know. I've only seen it once. I really wanted to watch it again. Again, time is a really hard thing for all of us right now during the holidays. What a rush! I mean, truly, Safdie. If you're wondering who won the Safdie War, it's Josh. Josh won the war this year. Chalamet plays this snotty little ping pong player. It's this sprawling epic around New York City. Uh, Such an eclectic score with the 80s vibes and the needle drops and
Both the score and the needle drops, perfection.
perfect. A movie that I still think is about, one segment away from being the 5 out of 5 masterpiece, but still, it's undeniable what everything else you see on screen is. I won't speak too much more of it. I'm sure that once we get to Christina talking about it, we'll talk about it more.
Okay,
But for
well, we can
now,
talk. We can
number
wait that
18.
for now then, since it's quite a bit higher up for me. So
Yes,
then
I
we'll continue
assumed. I
that.
assumed. That's why I'm like, let's table all of this. Yes, 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 yes.
But it's you again because actually on 18 was where I had Linklater.
Okay.
We talked at length about that. I think it's
Yeah.
amazing. So,
Number 17, I think, has like one of the gems of the year. And this is a movie I got to catch up with that TIFF. This might be on your list. I don't know. It might be higher. Is Clint Bentley's Train Dreams? Do you have this on your
definitely
list?
higher.
Definitely higher. Okay. Well, then maybe we'll table that one as well too. I just want to say, just like
No, we don't have to
for
say, but go ahead. Go ahead.
well, it's based off this Dennis Johnson novel. Clint Bentley and is the director of Jockey. He was co-writer of Sing Sing that came out last year, and he's made this sort of stunning portrait of a man's life, played by Joel Edgerton. He's this sort of a lodger, and out there in the woods, and sort of detached from the ongoing growth of the 20th century in America. And he has this sort of this family dynamic that all comes crumbling down, and it's about this man having to repiece himself back, uh, together in the face of ongoing growth. And I think it has one of the most beautiful endings you're ever going to see. I think that the score by Dresner is incredible. I think that
And a
Joel
Nick Cave
Edgerton,
song at the end.
the Nick Cave song's incredible. I think Joel Edgerton delivers the performance of his life in this thing. And it's so beautiful. Yeah, just the I got to see this in at TIFF on the big screen. I know most people are going to see it on Netflix, which really fucking sucks because like this is such a beautiful movie that demands to be kind of seen on the biggest screen possible. William H. Macy, Felicity Jones, oh God, Carrie Condon, an incredible supporting cast, but it's really Edgerton that sort of carries this. Yeah, I talked to Bentley and I talked to Edgerton and Middleburg earlier this year about the film and just about how this is a slice of looking inward at a person without any guilt or judgment and understanding that anybody's life is truly special and that there's beauty and humanity and layered emotion in everyone's life. So it's truly one of the little discoveries of the year, and I think it's a really special film. So
I love this
train
movie. I
train
have it.
dreams.
I have it higher up than you do because it just because from 10 to 1, I've decided I just went, okay, this is all my emotional movies. These are the ones that just got filmmaking be gone, just what went right into my heart. And this one in particular, it's a full life of
Mm,
just one person in history who would never really have been written of or made, a movie would be made of, with the most beautiful little romantic story. Another very heart-wrenching father-daughter story, which we've seen quite a bit of. And I think Joel Edgerton and the performance at its core, which is basically an eye performance, it's his face. He's playing a man in a time where restraint, you don't cry, you don't show your emotions, you just go through it, you power through, very emotionally, not stunted, but restrained. And
yeah,
I just thought it was really a beautiful portrait of a full life. And you very seldom get to see that. So,
yeah.
yeah, I, I'm in agreement. A bit higher up, but
It's like a cozy book,
it is with
But
some very
then
emotional little
yeah,
dips. You're
it
like,
just
what?
comes at you and smacks you with emotion at moments.
All right, my 17 is one of two documentaries I have. I wanted to put this on because on the list because I think it's amazing, but also because I think we need to everything we can do to highlight journalism today, I think is important in the world we live in, and that's Laura Poitras' Cover Up, which is a documentary
Mm,
film that explores the journalism of a real legend, Seymour Hersh, the Pulitzer Prize winning journalist who covered the army torture scandals during the Vietnam War, the Iraq War. And I thought this was an eye opening documentary about someone who has done so much for journalism, who's had some lows, who's had an incredible amount of highs, and where the world would not have known of many, many things had he not done the work he did. I also find Laura Poitras to be an incredible documentary filmmaker. She's, for me, one of the absolute everything she does has affected me very much, and so I always look forward to something she does. And this one I felt was it was a gut punch. Also saw it at Telluride, and
finally got to catch up with it towards the end of the festival season. To you know, for me personally, it's the documentary of the year. Um, in my honorable mentions, loved it through and through, and yeah, it's she just knows how to tap into my sensibilities of what I want to see in a documentary, and between this and all the beauty and the bloodshed, she's made some very vital pieces of filming.
she's an incredible filmmaker.
Correct, absolutely.
Number
Um,
16.
my number 16. This is a film we saw back at Cannes, and one of the smaller titles we didn't think that were was that was in competition that we were like very curious about, got the buzz. We went and saw this together, and this is Masha Linsky's Sound of Falling. This stunning,
Stunning.
um,
Honorable mention for me, but absolutely stunning.
challenging film that challenges the form about these four girls in this one house, and it's set in different time periods, and it's about coming of age, it's about death, it's about sexual awakening, it's about growing up. It's all these things sort of wrapped in sort of a kaleidoscope-esque way of storytelling. And I think Shalinsky kind of this is like a great mirror and a great companion to last year with Ramel Ross and Nickel Boys in a lot of ways. It's beautifully stunning. That film is challenging a form in a whole different way, but this is very close to that as well. I was kind of
It's
blown
true. It's
away
a very
by
sort
it.
of visceral experience. It's
Yeah,
something
and
else.
it's a long one, but I think that it's to showcase the breadth of these girls' lives and their time periods, and she was able to tap into the past in a way that I think that is so fascinating. I mean, a lot of the female filmmakers this year tapping into the past, tapping into something very personal for them, and really spoke to a lot of the reasons why some of them are on my list. Yeah, it's some of the sound work in this film is bone chilling. Score is incredible. And we were being told by our friend Sophia that Simonella, that it's like it could be a little sleepy, and we saw it early in the morning, but then once it started getting into its own groove, and about 30 minutes in, it was absolutely riveted with every image that I saw on screen. And there's a great gag with some shoes at the beginning of this to also
Mhm.
make you kind of wake up. It just felt very lived in. It felt very
It
much
did.
like another film about a home that I'm sure we're going to talk about.
Mhm.
And everything is that,
And she's such
people's
a young, she's what,
lives. Yeah.
not even 30 or 30
Not even
young for
30
the,
years
yeah.
old either, but to be able to do this is kind of
I
impressive
mean,
as hell.
no question or no, the fact that it's been has comparisons to Bergman have been made, I think is completely relevant. It's beautiful and the light,
Only
the
her second
themes.
film.
It's only our second. I mean, it was
Crazy.
incredible. It feels like a master at work. Absolutely beautiful. It's a tough sit for many viewers, I think, because it's not narratively structured in any way in a that I think maybe is recognizable for many viewers. But if you get the chance, definitely just sit there and just try to live in it, feel it.
Feel it.
And
Don't
yeah. All
just
right, do you want
just
my
go with it.
16?
Yeah, what's
We
your
have
60?
to rev some shit up here because we've been too artsy fartsy. We have to put up, we're not talking Big Jim, I'm talking Big Jerry Bruckheimer, producer of F1, starring Brad
Yes.
Pitt as Formula One racing driver. Sonny Hayes comes back
Yeah.
after 30 years to save his former team from collapse. Of course, this is Joseph Kosinski's major film about F1. Damson Idris was a find. I thought he's incredible in this movie. Even Javier Bardem is great. It's a lot of fun. The editing, I think, is for me that's like the winner of the year. And yeah, I had such a effing good time watching this movie. So it's number 16 for me.
It's one of the great blockbusters we've had of the year.
Yep.
It's in my honorable mentions.
God damn it, Ryan.
Yeah.
What's up there for you?
It's in my honorable mentions.
You
It's
have
sitting
no
there right at
blockbusters there.
on 23. It's sitting on 23. No, there's just so many goddamn good movies this year. I had such a thrill. I saw this at an IMAX screening and I was blown away. The best compliment I could make about F1 is that after last year doing a series on Tony Scott, it felt like the closest blockbuster I've had to a Tony Scott movie in a long time. And maybe that's because that's what Kaczynski and the crew and the pit crew wanted to do with
Hmm.
this film. But Pitt's incredible. Damson Idris, what a
What?
discovery!
I mean,
Like
that's
I mean, just and then Kerry Condon again, Javier Bardem, just an entire cast that's just absolutely thrilling. And Yeah, I mean, I got to see it again on the IMAX, the sound, the score, the original
It's
songs,
a great
everything.
time.
It's just like get a cold beer and watch this damn movie kind of
Mhm.
thing. Really, really fun stuff.
You
And
can
yeah, I
continue
agree.
on your artsy fartsy list. I'm wrapping it up.
You know what? I'm fine with my list,
Yes.
Christina. You can rev it up all you want. Um, but no, it's a high honorable mention for me. And at 23 is no slouch. I saw like 130 films this year, and I'm still trying to catch up on some. So, for any of these movies to be close to our top 20 this year, folks, is kind of a miracle because
Hmm.
there were so
It's
many great
true.
things. Um, my number 15 is a movie that we saw at Telluride. It's a very emotional film for me. I probably don't believe that it's in your top 20, but Noah Baumbach's Jay Kelly is
Honorable
is is
mention, but not in the
is here.
20.
What? No, I'm just kidding. I just wanted to do that to you. I mean, a stunning portrait of a star and the relationship to fame. And this is another thing that I thought, you're talking about this. Like we talked about this with Blue Moon, and you talk about it here, and there's another film that we'll talk about. And sort of the struggle of artists looking inward and looking at fame and looking at how what all that means to them. It's a common thing, but Baumbach sort of doing it in a way that's very honest and sentimental and looking at the entire industry at large and understanding that like we're all cogs in the machine to make a star or to make something on that big screen work. And I found that to be really fascinating. And you juxtapose that with putting Clooney in this role, and Clooney's one of the only people on the planet that can actually relate to something like what Jay Kelly is, even though he's completely different than somebody like Jay Kelly. He's not the sort of like charismatic monster that Jay Kelly is, and a very selfish human being. He's a warm, very kind filmmaker and actor. And you just post that with Sandler's performance in this film alongside like half of Hollywood doing cameos and small performances. It's really something special. And I think that the thing that works so effectively also too is again that final montage of films at the end and seeing the value of work. And there's that scene with him and Riley Keough in the forest, and he goes, "It had to all mean something," and she goes, "What if it didn't?"
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
then you juxtapose that to then the clip reel. It maybe not meant anything personal to him, but it definitely meant something to everybody else. There's a person on a train that says, "I see you, and I see my whole life flash in front of me." And that's what our relationship is to the cinema. But there's also massive sacrifices. Like we're sitting there at a film festival, and there's moments at home that are just trickling away. There's moments in life that we will not be able to experience that we will learn secondhandly when we return to our places uh, of of comfort. And I found that Noah Baumbach and Emily Mortimer's screenplay really nailed that sense of like, does any of this matter? And if so, what's it all for? I thought it was kind of mature of Baumbach for the first time in a while, and so and a different kind of filmmaking. I was
It's a
immensely
very much
impressed with it.
different vibe for him, very much
Yeah,
reflective and a little bit yeah, a
sentimental
little bit
and
sentimental, a little bit less sort of sarcastic that he can be
yeah,
in some of in his films. And I love this theme that we see in so many movies this year about sort of looking back and regret and parenthood and what is actually important in life. And I love a good movie about Hollywood. And as you know from my 20 best performances or 10 best performances, I actually had Billy Crudup, who does a
yes.
small but incredible little cameo in this film, which for me is absolutely the best part.
He's
As a,
he's absolutely
I,
fantastic in this
I'm
movie.
trying to realize that I kind of like these Salieri characters because, or these, because wait till
What does
we,
this say about you,
yes,
Christina?
when we get to Timmy soon again, there's something about the assholes that,
No, and I
no,
think that
but
that's there's something about all of that, but there is also something about, I think a lot of artists over the last couple of years have been very reflective of about their own personal selves. Baumbach's not just interested in about himself. I think this is an entire examination of the industry
Hmm.
from inside out. And I think that that's actually a far more interesting way to look at this. Of like, how do we are obsessive about movie stars. We want them. We need them. The industry demands them. But what are the costs to get to that point? And I think Clooney really nails this, and this is some of his best work he's done in a very, very long time as well too. So, and it makes you want a piece of cheesecake. Well, would that be what's in your writer? Like, what would be in your writer? Like, what's a demand if you were a celebrity? What would you
Cheese,
want?
not cheesecake.
Cheese. Well,
I'm
like a
very
cheese platter?
yes.
Would you want like some crackers or something with it, or
And
just
if
just the
cheese,
cheese?
some good like Italian sausage or prosciutto or
Oh,
something like that.
oh,
Yeah.
okay. Now I'm getting hungry.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting hungry.
My 15 is another smaller film, but that just knocked me out. Another a first time director and an actor, and that's Urchin by Harris Dickinson, which I did not realize. I didn't expect going in how impressed I would be by this movie about Mike, played incredibly by the actor Frank Delane, who's this homeless man in London. He's struggling with addiction, and you sort of follow him around trying very hard to get on the right side of life, and to struggle through, but at the same time you see the difficulty of recovery and what it's like when you're struggling with poverty, and in that situation in your life, how difficult it is to come through. I thought it was just an amazing directorial debut by Harris Dickinson, who I honestly I don't mean to sound offensive, but I didn't think he had it in him. He also plays a small part in this movie. He does that really well. I was very impressed by this movie. There's some really interesting filmmaking dream type sequences, which sometimes I'm allergic to, but for me worked in Urchin.
I have still not yet to see Urchin, and
What?
it's been bugging me. I know, kidding.
I think you'd
I've
like
been.
it.
I really. It sounds like I would. It sounds right up
Hmm.
my alley, doesn't it? Yeah, I'm very much I've heard so many good things about this, and you and so many others have hyped it up. That I got to get on this. I gotta see this
Well,
darn
you have
thing.
something. I think you're going to be impressed.
Yeah, that's what to say that the debut films this year have been very impressive. So, and we've got actors turning into directors, a lot of them
Yes,
these days. So, very, very excited by that. Okay.
14.
Um, 14. Hmm. Um, okay. This is where it gets tough. We're getting towards the end of this first list. Number 14 is from a master of cinema, and a movie that I when I saw it at TIFF, I was like, oh man, he's back in sicko mode. You know what I mean? And we were all fucked. And that, of course, is Park Chan-wook for No Other Choice. This movie that, just to put it behind the curtain a little bit this year, um, I didn't have a job for most of this year. The only thing I really had was cinema for myself. And watching this movie at TIFF was like, shit, this is exactly how it feels in the
Don't
job
go
market.
there.
You know what I mean? Like it's really ruthless, and it makes you think about like there are moments. I'm not gonna lie to you, Christina. There are moments when you're like, "Wow, maybe I should rob a bank, or maybe I should do something drastic and insane," and just like the characters in this film. And but Park Chan Wook's not just interested in the sort of struggling economy and the different tiers of power dynamics within our social political sphere. He's also got the ongoing pending dooms of our world surrounding this universe. And what a gut punch ending of the fact that this movie is also a massive criticism of AI, of replacing human beings. This whole journey is what are the sum of its parts? What are we all getting to? For your happiness, how does that benefit or also destroy others? It's a completely fascinating empathy machine. It's also a damning criticism on humanity. I think Park Chan-wook is one of our great directors we have, period. I mean, he made literally one of my favorite films in 2022 with no with Decision to Leave. He made one of the best films of the decade in the 2010s with the Handmaiden, and he has continued his cinematic just pursuit of greatness. And this is where I'm going to tell you from here on out, we're talking about movies that I think are absolutely fascinating, thematically rich in terms of conversation that we've had, but ultimately have something that lingered about them throughout the entire year that I kept going back and just kind of tapping on the brain, going like, how the hell did they do that? So from this point on, these are all like interchangeable except or two, but no other choice. Fantastic film. Parks back in his old sort of
For
old
me,
bag.
it's a great film, but it doesn't, for me, compare to the Master's previous films, which,
That's
as
fair.
you mentioned, are some of the best films in cinema history. It's a little bit too broad for me
Mm.
in terms of its humor once in a while, but I do think the ending is an absolute knockout. So I agree with several things, but for me, it doesn't come up to his, you know, level, or even, I
You
mean, it's
know,
an unavoidable comparison with Parasite, I think, which it doesn't quite reach those levels of
that's
satire.
fair. That's fair. I mean, they're doing different, I think, sort of social satire things. There also is just 9 or 10 times throughout this movie where he does something with the camera that no one in cinema
Absolutely.
is able to do. And that's some other things as well, like
It
set
feels
pieces.
crazy to criticize the
No, yeah, I
master,
know,
but
right?
I,
It's like no, I understand that. For some people, it is sort of like in his tier, and I just think it's like, no, he's returning back to something and saying something that's very important. And honestly, it's like it's a much better version of like a movie like about Eddington, for example, that I do not believe what we'll be talking about at all. But like that's a movie to me that is like so saccharine and so on the nose that it loses that it's chasing
that
its tail.
satire doesn't work in a
Th-
completely different
exactly.
way.
This movie, on the other hand, is tackling that, but still finds way to interestingly talk about things without having to beat you over the head. It's more tying the body than it is beating the body. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So
My 14 is, didn't think I would enjoy as much as I did, and I kind of saw it for the sake of my kid at first, but then loved it. But I think it has to be mentioned in the Hollywood of this year, and that's K-pop Demon Hunters.
I knew it was going to be on your list. I knew it. So that's why it's an honorable mention for me, and I knew it would be on your list. So that's why I was covered. I was covered
We're going to be talking about this movie for a long
for the
time.
rest of the season.
Was enjoyed by all ages, and you cannot get these songs out of your head. And Golden is just an earworm. We've talked about that before. The fact that Sony could have made millions if they'd released it, not just millions, billions, if
I
they
would think
released it in
billions.
cinema. That whole discussion and what that will lead to is also very interesting. I also think this is the animated winner of the year, I think, for an Oscar. So yeah, K-pop Demon Hunters.
I think that this is such a fun film. I recently caught up with this. It was one of our highlights of the year. Those goddamn songs are so catchy. You want a little sugar pop, soda pop. Yeah, like I've had that in my head for like
Yeah.
weeks. Like soda pop's been in my head for weeks. Golden's just absolutely great. And yeah, Sony, stop giving your damn movies away because you'd probably be making
What the
billions of
hell?
dollars right now, bro. Like, what are you doing? And is Netflix going to allow you to put the sequel in theaters? Probably not. So yeah, it's a phenomenon, and we'll be talking about it for the Oscar season all season long. So, all right, number 13. So I think number 13 might be the most divisive film of the year, and I'm proud to stand on the side of Celine Song in Materialists.
One of my
I'm
top honorable mentions.
I am ready to go to fucking war for this movie because I think this movie brilliantly examines the the materialistic value of what we put on relationships and how everything is transactional Everything is about money. Everything is about, it's not even about looks anymore. It's about money. It's about place. It's about stature. And what we value out of relationships is what she is truly invested in talking about. This movie is not, even though it was built as a rom com, it is a rom dram, and it is one that I think is brilliantly examining the dangers of modern dating, what millennials have done. Because I'm going to tell you a story. I've been with my wife for many, many years. I am terrified of losing her because then I'd have to go back out in this dating world. That sounds like an
It's not
absolute
fun.
fucking nightmare. It sounds like truly one of the worst things that anybody could ever do because it either makes you super crazy or the rules are changing constantly to where people are having just blunt conversations nowadays about what you make and what you do. Because if you don't make this certain amount in the places that you live in, especially living in New York City, then you are undesirable even before you sit down and order dessert. You know what I mean? Before you even order appetizers, for Christ's sake. And so I think that she does a fantastic job of conveying the sort of desperate nature that is at the feet of an entire generation struggling to not be alone. And I think that Dakota Johnson's fantastic. I think Chris Evans delivers one of his best performances of his career as this guy who's very schlubby and down on his luck. And I think it's also a commentary about the things that we're all, I think it's also a racial commentary. I'm going to say that as well, of that there's this desirable man and yet she's still willing to make the sacrifices necessary in exam and of this past relationship and look beyond the flaws of this white man and condemn him in a way that isn't critical of his money, but of his effort in putting into a relationship. And that is something as well. I see so many guys that are able to just get by on their looks and not put effort into the relationships that matter. And that is it's a generational thing of just being thinking that you are owed this person. And no, there's regret and mistakes and all of that have to be put in. I think also what is lost in this is, and because people have just made fun of this like one joke that's inside of it, is Zoe Winter's complex performance as Sophie in this movie and how she's actually really the point of this movie, of that women feel absolutely fucking pulled apart by what they're supposed to be and who they're supposed to be nowadays, and that they're just kind of considered pieces of meat on the market. So I think the movie is fascinating. It's such an interesting move for Song after something so personal, but this is also personal. She was a matchmaker for many years and saw firsthand what it was like to have the pain of these clients' faces and see that in her own self as well, while also trying to find her own love. I think it's a fascinating film. I know people are very divisive on it, but I've been championing this thing from the beginning. It's like this is an effective way to deconstruct the tropes of a rom com and make them feel modern in the 21st century. So I think it's a fascinating film, and you know, people have hated it. They made fun of it, dismissed it, and I just don't get it. Like I don't understand when somebody tries to make something that challenges you, we want to spit it out and push it away. And I think that you know people went and saw it and had conversation. And I think that that's absolutely fascinating. So
I think the first half of the movie is genius, and
yeah,
as you know, Past Lives was my number one when it came out.
yes,
It just was so personal to me. I think this is has everything you're saying is true, except for me that doesn't really work. I think Zoe Winters saves kind of underwritten development in that character that
mm,
watching it again, I've sort of tried to like it and understand it more, but I think that there's some things missing in that plot line that
mm,
make it a little bit sort of brings it down. That's the only thing that sort of brings it down for me. Otherwise, I do think it's incredible commentary on modern love, on modern relationships, on what we're looking for and how important what we're looking for is actually what other people think we should be looking for and not what we are
Exactly.
actually looking for. So yeah, an honorable
Very
mention
much.
for me.
Very much. It's about what we want others to see when we have somebody around our arms as opposed to like how we feel about that
And the
relationship
choices
itself.
they make, I mean, the choices Pedro Pascal has made in order to be more attractive, everything is about, the other person, what other
Yep.
people are going to see in that.
It's
So I
kind of
find
sad, isn't it?
it's very sad, but in that way, the movie captures that very well. My 13, Danny Boyle, Alex Garland, we're back with 28 years later in this. I thought, what a comeback. I was so impressed with this post apocalyptic coming of age movie, really, that they made here. Another film about a father and a son, and in this case, a son's disappointment in the father, and all these things about masculinity, which were so interestingly developed in this film about what happens when a society starts over again. It becomes nostalgic, and all these old masculine tropes gaining a force within this little community. It's also a critique about modern politics. It incredibly interestingly filmed with cell phones. This is a difficult comeback to do so many years later. One of my favorites of the year.
It is a movie that I need to rewatch because so many people love it. I usually have a very big allergy to the way that Danny Boyle shoots things, but I thought that there's so much that I do admire about the film. It's probably more in like a 3.5, 4 star range than when I have it right now. Um, because it's so impressive of trying to push his own form forward. Garland's script is actually really strong here,
It's really strong.
and there's, I mean, again, I've seen the Bone Temple, so it has actually made me want to go back and rewatch this again. Anticipation to then watch the Bone Temple again. That's how much I like the Bone Temple. And a lot of the stuff set up here then bleeds into that. So I'm probably undervaluing the film, but I'm so glad that you got to talk about it here. It is also just really interesting going back to a franchise like this and this collaboration that was, like 20 years ago, and exploring new themes, and like you said, I think the political themes
Yeah, and they to
then
bring
bleed
that
in.
out, I mean, they're good at when they're good at it, they're so good at it.
They're so good at it, and then that last 20 minutes is just incredibly emotional and beautiful and cathartic for characters I've only spent a marginal amount of time with. And I think that's the beauty of Garland's script
And the
there. So yeah,
last minute is
yeah,
is
it's
just like
wild. And
wow.
just wait, just you wait
I
and see
cannot
what
wait.
they've got cooked up for you next. If you like this, Christina, I'm going to tell you, if you like this movie, just wait.
This is where Nia
Next one,
DaCosta comes back.
this is where she comes in and she makes, I think, the best film of the franchise so far. So like that's I know it sounds crazy, but trust me, when you see it, you're gonna go, what is happening? Um, my number 12,
12.
film we saw at Cannes, movie that I was very, very high on then, still high on now. It's been the year of mothers, the year of mothering. And this is one of three films about mothers still remaining on my list. And this is, of course, Lynn Ramsey's Die My Love. Um, just an unrelenting examination of the mistakes of being with Robert Pattinson. Like that's really what this movie
This is my number one honorable mention, just so you know.
this movie is so good. And it's, I mean, what the sacrifices that you're willing to make as a mother, even, and then as you've become a mother, as you become a wife, you slowly realize, did I make a mistake? And then the slow realization of being trapped inside this house, trapped with the baby, trapped within this life, trapped around with the same people, being asked the same stupid questions, the ongoing fights, the bitterness that you have for your partner, all of that. It's fascinating. And then you also get what Ramsey I think really does well is she just builds tension and builds it. And what is real and what isn't? What is internalized and what is a breakdown? What is human and what is fantasy? And I think that that's what's so wonderfully special about the film is that it is a Rorschach test, like most of the films that we're going to talk about, a Rorschach test into the mind of an individual. And I think that Jennifer Lawrence is incredible in this movie. It's like we take her for granted at just how great of an actress she really is. And when she's fully committed to something, she's there's nobody better than her. I mean, there are some performances that are better this year, but she puts her own body, the physicality, the endurance test of this. It's unrelenting. It's honestly also too a better commentary about parenthood than Ramsey's done before in the past with like we need to talk about Kevin. That's much more single noted, and this is much more complicated and has multiple avenues you can talk about. I think like the Sissy Spacek and the Nick Nolte characters are absolutely incredible too about mirroring what not wanting to be, passing down legacy, and the idea of who really is in charge of the home and who is the adult as well. That's stuff I picked up on there too. Really fascinating film from Lynn Ramsey. Just every now and every 5 to 6, 7, 8 years, she comes back and just says, I'm pretty good at this thing. I might as well just keep doing it. So
To be able to take on motherhood in this way, which you're not really allowed to say. Not everyone wants to be a mother. I mean, I think lots of people say that this film is, oh, it's postpartum depression. I think it's postpartum depression and someone who actually probably wasn't meant to be a mother at all. You're not supposed
yeah,
to say that. And the way that she visualizes this and the way that the other ones around her can't handle it, none of the responses to me are the right responses that she should be getting here, even though there's some good tries. Um, it,
yeah.
it, it's really great and an honorable mention for me. Absolutely.
I think you're absolutely right. Like this is a movie where like we first see him and they're buying this home and there's a regret about like moving back to the
Exactly.
husband's place and everything. And it's like nowhere in that initial conversation did they ever say anything about a child.
Hmm.
And then the child gets thrown in, and then there's absolutely love for the child, but there is a massive amount of like, I was supposed to be a writer. I was supposed to be all
Yeah,
these
just
things.
because you feel a way doesn't mean you don't have the love there. And I think that these are taboos you're not allowed to talk about. And Lynn Ramsey
Mhm.
just goes for the kill
It's a
here.
trap of domesticity, is what the
Mhm.
movie becomes, and I think that
I have
it's about
another one
somebody.
coming on
Right.
and similar
Oh,
themes.
all right. Well, there you go. I think I know what you're talking about.
My number 12 is my second and last documentary, The Perfect Neighbor,
Oh, what a good movie.
directed and produced by Geeta Gandbir. And it's about the Florida law Stand Your Ground. It was an incident in 2023 where a white female, Susan Lawrence, fatally shot her black neighbor. The film is basically police footage, body cams of the many different times when they've been called in for neighborhood disputes. This Lawrence keeps calling and they keep coming. And it's just, you see the racism bubbling, you see the whole thing. And basically, it's limited narration, it's the body cam footage, and it's the most harrowing film I've seen in a long time. And the fact that she didn't do a bunch of on-camera interviews after the whole, because you see the whole, the conviction and all everything that happens in the aftermath, but there's no like camera interviews with people who were there, and it's just this. It's really an interesting work of filmmaking.
It is. It's such a tough watch. It really is because she immerses you into this whole case so well. Um, Definitely one of the documentaries of the year, like in my top five easily. Um, just got to have shit like this stop happening. It's just terrible. Number 11. We're here. We're here at the end. We're here at the end of the line for this first episode. Wow. All right. Full disclaimer. I think I undervalue this director because every damn time a year comes out, I think, God, they made one of the best films of the year. And I'm like, when am I going to put those films in my top 10? And they usually end up right at number 11. And I was moving things around and I realized, holy crap, they're at number 11 again. And I couldn't believe this. But I think that Wes Anderson's The Phoenician Scheme is on a continued run of really fascinating, introspective look filmmaking that he's been making over the last few years since we've come back from the pandemic. And I think this one, and I said this in my review out of can, I think this is a very personal film. I think that he's not only examining his own legacy, much like Linklater is, sort of people of the same era, and doing it within his usual Wes Anderson style of filmmaking. But I do think that he is looking also inward at the relationships in his career. And and Christina, I do still, after watching the film multiple times since Cannes, I do believe he is talking about Francis Ford Coppola. And I do think he is talking about the Coppola dynasty. And I do think because after watching Megadoc, I think he is talking about that crazy son of a bitch who made that movie. And I think that there's no way you can't see the comparisons between Benicio del Toro's Corda and Francis Ford Coppola, and these family that has been so important to him, and that there's this one daughter that is the heir to the cinematic throne, if it were, you know, the religious throne. And there's these cast of characters around him, but really, when it comes down to it, this is a movie about a giant, once in a lifetime revelatory deal that needs to be made. And how much did we hear about Megalopolis, that being this once in a lifetime cinematic changing event from Francis Ford Coppola? So I can't not see the meta commentary there, but also Wes Anderson taking a retrospect to look at the fact that his time as well is not, you know, he's got a clock too, and that you can only cheat death so many times. You can only make the same sort of art the same way. You can only do it an uncompromising amount of times. And I think the movie is very personal. I think the movie is fearful of death. That's the other thing that he makes in this movie that I don't think a lot of other filmmakers talk about, is that I think he's scared of the idea of not being around. I think he's scared of the
It's
idea
about
of
legacy and yeah.
about you know, what is a legacy define, what is my end goal here. And I think the movie really tackles that really well. I think it's funny as hell. I think Michael Cera delivers one of the best performances of the year. He's so good in this movie. It's got, you know, his usual cavalcade of supporting actors in his company, but I think along with this in Asteroid City, he is continuing and continuing to be very personal and look inward to create outward. So Wes Anderson's The Phoenician Scheme, a fun film.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Didn't quite make it my list, but could have. I mean, it is up there. I had a
and
great time. And Benicio del Toro's second best performance this year. Um,
correct,
I
correct.
saw
Well,
it twice. I had a great time. So
and also, can I shout out one last person? Adam Stockhausen, who is the production designer. Wes Anderson films are always great for production design. I think this movie is like even some of the
another
best work
level.
he's ever done. Yeah, it's incredible stuff.
So my 11 is Pillion, the
Ah,
romantic comedy drama, another impressive directorial debut by Harry
yes.
Leighton. This is based on a novel by Adam Mars Jones. This is, of course, the big Alexander Skarsgård movie of the year, where he plays this enigmatic motorcycle or biker who starts a BDSM relationship with the wonderful Harry Melling character, who's a shy gay man with a wonderful family, who, and it's a warm, funny rom-com, but that also is really intelligent. shows a culture that we don't get to see this way on in films normally. And I think is honestly, if you can handle some hard sex, it's a beautiful, fun little Christmas movie.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. No, I think the movie is a great, and it's an honorable mention as well for me. I think that it's a very it's sort of conventional. It's probably the rom-com of the year. I think what's so great about it though is it's an honest depiction though that does enter a world of taboos and doesn't chicken shit out of it. Like it goes full on into it, and it is honestly you're entering the world with Melling's character as well, and you as he is going through the newest steps into intimacy, and as far as he can stretch himself and pull himself and all these different things, you are going on that journey with him, and then that's when the movie takes its turn and you get so emotionally invested in it. And so it really kind of is a movie that lingers in its tropes and then ultimately takes those and says, yeah, but wouldn't it be sadder if we did it this way? And yeah, I remember us seeing it at Cannes and we're so surprised because like you just hear a BDSM movie with Alexander Skarsgård and you're like, okay, well, let's just watch all the sex, like and yet it's willing to go to places that like Christina, I don't know if you're caught up in the heated rivalry of it all this year and how that has now become like we honestly did the moments of the year too soon because once that thing has taken over the last 4 weeks, that show is very good, but for what it's trying to be, but it doesn't take nearly the chances with that it could with the type of sex and the type of relationship dynamics that this movie does. And so that's why everyone's freaking out about Heat Rivalry. I'm like, Pillion exists. That's the film that HBO show should try to, be a, or crave or whatever the show is. That's what they should try to aspire to. It's such a good movie. It's very funny. Very funny.
It's so funny. And Alexander is amazing in it, but a shout out to Harry Melling, who I think really takes us on this journey of both it's emotional and you start seeing when he starts deciding for himself who who he is, what he wants, what he doesn't want. And it's just a fascinating performance, which I think is sort of Alexander's, of course, such a huge performance and stunning performance that it sort of overshadows Harry, which I think he needs a little bit more love, but really
No,
great.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And if you haven't yet watched the Actors on Actors with
With
Alexander
Stellan
Skarsgård and
and his,
Stellan,
yeah,
the
that's
first 20 minutes of that where
that's
they are
so
just
funny.
ripping each other apart is so funny. You're going down, old man. You know, it, it's so good. It's so
All
good.
right, number 10.
Number 10. Wow. I can't. Oh, we're just going right into it. Number 10 is Kelly Reichardt's The Mastermind. The sort of anti-heist film from Kelly Reichardt, the only way that she could do it. I think the movie is absolutely fantastic. I mean, this is my Josh O'Connor film of the year, I guess. There's like four to choose from,
Exactly.
right? And this one is mine because I think that Reichardt is fascinated with the idea of the angst that is found within the white male of the 1970s that still feels like it's perpetrating itself nowadays. These sort of lazy befuddleness that I think also kind of mirrors maybe another film on my list about a white man's role inside of evolving culture and how Josh O'Connor plays this guy who is coming up with this small town idea to rob a local art house gallery, and his family comes from money. His wife is kind of indifferent to him. His kids are in the background, but slowly, as we see over the course of the film, like this man has no plan. He has no sense of it. It's just the idea of what a white man represents in society is that if I dream of it, then it can happen. And this is a movie that says, no, those dreams don't make any freaking sense because you don't You don't have anywhere that's driving you. It's sort of again that lostness that's found within a section of men. I found it to be a really fascinating film because there seems to be this growing angst and politically and socially in our consciousness post the election about the figures within within the world for men, let alone just white men. And I found O'Connor's lostness throughout the film to be really fascinating as it is. He is not only dodging authorities and he's not only dodging his responsibilities, but then towards the end, he's trying to dodge the police from putting him in a situation with the Vietnam War in the background. So it's all about the sort of, you know, trying to dodge, everything left and right and ultimately just being caught and it finally catching up to you. I think Reichardt is one of our great directors that we have working, period. And she has this might be her most like politically charged film that she's ever made. You wouldn't think of it when you're watching it, but it pretty much hits you right in the gut the more and more you see what's going on in our country. And again, reflecting the 1970s into now, it's 50 something years, it's 55 years later, and yet we're still looking back on it and examining the problems of that small Massachusetts heist to what we have in our political sphere. So, um, the Mastermind, number 10.
It's really interesting because I was thinking of that we should do a show on themes of the sort of loser white man, but who still thinks he can.
Fix the world,
Between this one, Marty Supreme, and Leo
one battle
in
after
One
another.
Battle After Another, it's a very interesting look at of masculinity and men, and that I think one could find some very interesting themes and why people have been thinking of this the past 3 or 4 years, and where has this come from, and this is a great one to analyze in that sense.
Yes, 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 yes. Have you? Um, where's this on yours? Is it? It's not on
It's
your
an
list. It's
honorable
an honorable
mention.
mention.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's gorgeous. Every sweater in the movie I want to own. The whole 70s look, but I would have liked I think a little bit more character development for me to be able to
Hmm.
be fully immersed in it, particularly of Alana Haim, his wife, the character. But otherwise,
No,
it's great.
I totally agree. Though I think that really, in a lot of ways, like that's in terms of the selfishness of focusing on this one man, this white man's obsession. Her being by the wayside kind of makes total sense. So, but I would have loved to just see her in general. It's crazy that she actually has more screen time in One Battle After Another
Yeah.
than she does in this one. So,
My number 10 is the one of the other mothers, and that's If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You by Mary Bronstein, whose husband wrote another movie this year, and that's Marty
mhm.
Supreme. Rose Byrne plays a mother on the verge.
She does.
She she has a daughter who has a kind of mysterious illness. We actually never see the daughter throughout the movie. We follow her, which I think is about a week during an absolutely tense time of her life. Her husband is not there. There's a huge hole in their ceiling. The daughter isn't eating. Her colleague and her therapist, Conan O'Brien, is kind of an asshole.
Kind
She's
of.
not getting help anywhere. It's a immersive look into the mind of a mother who is losing it. And I found myself totally immersed in this, and actually even saw several themes and situations where I could relate.
Yeah.
And I think Rose Byrne gives the performance of her career. It's stunning, as does ASAP Rocky.
Yes. Who had a wonderful year, not only just in this, but in highest to lowest as well. If I had legs, I'd kick you is my number 9 of the year.
Oh, so
And it's right. Yeah, we're right lockstep. This is the movie that's moved up the most because it was an honorable mention a couple of weeks ago, and then I just started and I watched it again at home, and this thing just knocks your socks off. It's terrifying.
It's
It's
relentless.
it's relentless. It is the most claustrophobic film of the year, because of the fact that you are just 1000% that camera pushed on her face, and you are watching every emotion on Rose Byrne's um, daily activities just come to head. And Mary Brownstein talked to me along with Rose Byrne. This is a very personal film. This happened to her in her life. I want to actually, I would have loved to ask Ronald Bernstein, like, where the hell were you? Like, like doing all this. But she took the personal and she made it art, and she put her heart on the screen. And there was only one person in the world she thought that could deliver the sort of comedic, darker elements, as well as also the dramatic elements and the sort of spiraling that we see throughout the film for Rose Byrne's Linda. So I think that this movie is fantastic. I think, a lot of people were trying to throw the word like Lynchian out there to kind of describe it or try to describe its atmosphere. I don't think so. I think that this is actually the best Safdie movie of the year, and that this to me is the movie that is an unrelenting, just like thrill ride the entire way through, of just absolute panic and nervousness as a parent. And it's a great depiction because we see postpartum depression depict so goddamn much in cinema. This is one of like, okay, you're a mother and you wanted to be a mother. What is it like to actually have to continue to fight and fight and fight for your child, even though the day, like, there's moments where she's sitting, or the child where we don't see is sitting in the back seat. And Christina, I know you've had to deal with this in your life, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but just the relentless questions, the agonizing, just like compromises that you have to make to get silence back in your life. I'm sure there's been places and times where you've just gone into the ethereal world that Rose Byrne's character has to go into in order to be able to find peace, just like my mother or any mothers have to be able to do. I found that so relatable, because the time I saw the film, and I went and had lunch with my mom literally the next week, and she spaced out much like Rose Byrne did. And I'm like, I'm not a child anymore, Mom. You don't have to do this anymore. You're like, but it's something that kind of gets built into you once you have that connection with your child, and you'll do things that are very questionable along the way in order to, that seem right in your head, but to others might seem out there and wild.
And there's been several tries to do this, but they chicken out. They chicken out of
Oh man,
going the
what was it like?
entire way.
What was that, Night Bitch?
Night Bitch,
Like,
which was I hated that movie, and it was a complete cop out. This is a very love it or hate it, I think. I think some people really find it too much, and
I don't know. It seems to be the performance that's getting rewarded the most this year. So I think a lot of people love
oh, a lot of people love it, but there's certain, I mean, the ones that don't, I think really find it like, ooh,
That's true. Yeah,
harrowing.
that's true. But it's so also interesting, and I hope Mary Brownstein makes something else, and continues to it's such a movie where I was like, God damn, where have you been? Like, as a filmmaker, like, this is this is very relatable. And yeah, to answer to go back to your other thing, Rose Byrne is so fucking good in this movie. She is insane. And because that camera is literally on her, pushed up to her face, so many close-ups. And I will say, like, the runtime of this movie is only an hour and like 40, 45 minutes, but it feels relentlessly long because it's supposed to. You're supposed
The
to feel that,
anxiety, it's
the
never
anxiety and
ending
everything.
tempo, and the performance, one of the best performances of someone who's exhausted that I've ever seen.
Exactly. You're exhausted by the end of it, and that's the point. And some people are like, "Oh, the pace." I'm like, no, that's the point of it. Like, it doesn't work if it has like a quick pace to it. Like, so I think it's a brilliant film, and it's one that, yeah, just I kind of want to keep going back and exploring, because that ethereal ideas that she's also throwing in there too are really, really special. And yeah, I mean, I would never want Conan O'Brien as my therapist after this. Like, what an absolute dick, but it's just like
I would like
but
him in
in
my
his,
movie though. He's always good.
I would too, because he's a good actor. He's a good actor.
So my number nine was Train Dreams, which we've talked
Okay,
about. So
all right,
I, you can do your number eight.
okay. Did you want to say anything else about Train Dreams?
See it.
My number eight is The Secret Agent. Clipper Mendoza Filo's film about this technology specialist that's fleeing a mysterious part of his mysterious past in Brazil, and there's this authoritarian
Sorry, can I
that
just say it's my number eight as well?
it's your number eight as well. Yes, all right. What a coincidence! Oh boy, I feel like this is where we're gonna start crossing over a lot. But man, what a movie! I mean, you and I watched this at Cannes. How about those first 15 minutes?
The
Right? I
best
just
opening of the movie 2025. It tells you everything of where we are, the paranoia, the dictatorship, what the military means, who this guy is, everything.
the camera angles exactly like what type of feel we're going to get here, the influences of cinema that it's put all over this movie. And it also front and center explains that this is going to be Wagner Moura's vehicle and you better just get in the car and drive with him. Like it is a fascinating saga about once again exploring the 1970s and just opposing that to now.
It's also about cinema history and about
Yes.
what movies and art meant, particularly during this regime. Things from Jaws, and this is the little city where and Kleber Mendoza Filo came from. So
Hmm.
you can tell that this is very personal for him. And it just has everything. It's so complete. And
Hmm.
particularly the best supporting cast of the year. Every
Yeah.
single person in this movie feels like an authentic character.
It has everything in it. In it, while it feels succinctly um, and 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 authentically Brazilian, it feels so American right now. It feels so timely for what we're going on, and that just proves that like these regimes, these ideas, these struggles are universal, generational, and they spread across our and they're human. They're human because someone seeing this in Brazil for the 1970s, I mean, they're going through stuff there as well right now, as well as what we're going on in America with Trump. The idea of ICE agents being ramped up at an alarming rate in this country, the idea of getting rid of quote unquote undocumented people. You have the idea also too the not being able to say what you think that is right out in the world for fear of being locked up. That is something that is an ongoing problem in this country right now, and Mendoza Filo captures that perfectly. The sort of behind every corner is danger.
But also how absurdly life still get normalizes in this
Yes.
situation. That I think
Well,
was one of the best parts of the movie
but
in
I
a
think he
very odd and weird way.
it's also a part of a theme this year too of those willing to sacrifice themselves in order to keep the idea of hope alive, to help Dr. Morris' character, to help these people. It's like there are moments where this movie slows down and it has those moments where they're all sitting around there in that apartment and they're just talking about what it would be like to live a free life. It's incredibly thrilling to watch most of the thriller aspect or to see the cinematic stuff, but when the movie slows down and it once again focuses on these characters and it focuses on these people in desperate times, the movie opens up to be just this entire massive empathy machine within genre play. And then there, of course, is the documentarian filmmaking that juxtaposes the present into the with the past. It
And
is
the
a like a
absurdist elements too, that's
yeah,
suddenly
with the
thrown
with the
in there.
leg and everything. Yeah. I mean, it is a smorgasbord of ideas that only someone like that mad genius could make. And so, if this is how he's following up Baccarat, I could only imagine what he's going to follow up The Secret Agent. And the idea of The Secret Agent is like, It's a play on the word of that. You think you're going in to really see a thriller, a spy thriller, and you're not. Like it's just about like keeping people secret in this, this sort of guy in the back of a mailroom, essentially, and that there's many ways to interpret that as well. So
And
I
Wagner
find
Moura,
this
one of the best actors of
best
our generation.
performances. Yes, and just I mean, he's yeah. I think his time is here and now, and I think he delivers a wonderful performance in a movie that obviously a lot of people are pairing with I'm Still Here from last year. But I think it's a movie that is far more interesting to me than the sort of the conventionality of that film. Different films and entire, but still their
Both
themes
good,
are
but
very.
this one is, yeah.
Yeah, I think this one's a little bit step up for it. So
So seven, because that was both our eights.
7, you ready? You ready to dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? Because
Oh,
my number 7 is Ryan Coogler's Sinners. I know that this is higher for you.
it is.
Uh,
It is. Do you want to know where, or what are we doing? Or should I keep that?
um, I think if you want, we can reveal if you want to. Where
Okay.
is it at for
So
you?
Sinners is my number four.
Number 4. Okay, so it's not too far off. Just
Fantastic movie.
maybe the most. I mean, it's part of this trilogy of films that I'm going to talk about here in the top 7 that are the most audacious films, and the audacious blockbusters of the year. And I mean, Ryan Coogler has delivered on the promise of the investment that I have made in him since Fruitvale Station. Like
You
that man,
alone, Ryan.
yes, yes, because nobody saw that damn movie. Damn it! I
Yes, we
remember being
did.
like, I remember being alone in the theater watching Fruitvale Station here, and I was crying my eyes off, and I was like, "Who is this? And what are they doing with movies?" And then they have just Ryan Coogler has ascended with Creed and Black Panther to a level of like, oh my God, like how is he ever going to get back to just making something more familiar and something smaller and yet feel grand? And he does that here. This first half of this movie is all set up. It's all about atmosphere. It's all about character. It's all about score and mood and setting and the cinematography and everything. And then that switch in the second act to being this movie about power and this movie about the idea of who owns culture,
Yeah, if
who
you're
is
gonna
the
make the metaphor, the tired metaphor of vampires, but to do it as the vampires are sucking out
yeah
cultural history
tree
and
of
taking,
black people.
yes,
Yes,
and the Irish and everyone just sucking each other dry of cultural inheritance and music and black history. Um, that's how you do it.
that is how you do it. And you talk about that there's this long line of history of people that are musical, that are powerful within the black community. And you just suppose that within the disparity of the Irish, and you have the indigenous, representative in here as well, trying to chase and kill off the evil. But meanwhile, the real evil of this entire film
Exactly.
really is the white men that have put them in the positions that for all this violence to occur and come in the aftermath to come and claim the reward off of it. And it's such um, an exciting, entertaining, thrilling, blood-soaked, um, damning criticism of our culture and damning criticism of how people take so much from so many. And and even Kugler's talked about the vilification of the Irish. Like this is those characters are not the real villains of this film. They are villains, but in their nature, they have been created to be that way by their own immigration into the country, their own succumbing to evil. And you just oppose that to just some of the sequences that he's directing in this movie. The I lied to you sequence, the traveling through time, what Sammy means by having this gift of exploring that he is the gateway that unlocks not only the past but the present of music and hip hop. It's so bold and confident from a filmmaking standpoint for Coogler, and such an upgrade to what he's been doing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that you're just like, God damn it, never go back to that. Like, stay in this lane.
Stay here.
You can be one of the greatest directors ever. And it sort of prophesizes it that like he is a mentee of Christopher Nolan, and there are sequences in here that only Ryan Coogler, through his specificity, can pull off, and it feels as grand as any sort of blockbuster that we've had. And it's a cultural moment yet again. And Michael B. Jordan, Delroy Lindo, Haley Steinfeld, Miles Canton, Wumi Musaka, this entire cast is centered around this man's singular vision. It is impressive work,
And I want
Christina
to
Silva.
mention for me the crafts, the best of the year in
Oh
this. I mean, the
man.
cinematography by Autumn Gerald Arkapaw is just
Hmm.
incredible. Ludwig Göransson's score, if it could be his third Oscar,
It's
and
crazy.
deserves it.
And I've already heard this. I've already heard a little bit of that score from the Odyssey because
Oh gosh,
I've
yeah.
seen the 5 minutes. I've seen the siege on Troy, and I can tell you, I think that guy might be winning some more Oscars next year too. Holy shit! Yeah,
No, but
I'll be
and the
ready for
production
Nolan.
design,
It's so
the
lived in.
clothes, of course, or the whole
the
everything
ma- the
is.
makeup on the towards the end of the just of what they do with Jack O'Connell, and that's another person too. Jack O'Connell's performance. I mean, he's got that brief moment in 28 years later too, where he, which will pay off immensely in the Bone Temple for you. But he's so good in Sinners as well, and yeah, it's a good movie. It's a damn good movie.
My number seven, it is, I think, is higher for you, but is somewhere here, I'm sure, and that's Jafar Panahi's It Was Just an Accident.
This is my number four.
I think this is an incredible film, which follows a group of people who discover a man because of the way he walks, his sort of peg leg and the way it sounds, that they believe could be their torturer, their tormentor. And all the themes and the conversations and what this how this group ends up dealing with this makes one of Panahi's absolute best films to date. The fact that the film was made covertly, the fact that he has another sentence on his head if when he decides to go back home, just makes this even more important and compelling and an incredible piece of art.
It is an incredible film. One of the endings of the year, bone chilling. You know, I feel, Christina, massive privilege that I got to sit down with Jafar Panahi earlier this year and talk about how this movie is, on the core, it seems like a revenge film, but it is one where revenge is set aside for understanding and empathy and the ability to move on and forgive. It's a tool for forgiveness. And I found
What
that
an
to
eye for
be,
an eye really means for the
yes.
soul, for
I
the.
mean, you're talking about a man writing a movie about a country he could literally hate, but but in what it's done to him, what it's continuing, as you're saying, to do to him now. And he is refusing to play along with that kind of think. He's refusing to play along with the idea of that I need to hate the place that I love. It's so I have so much empathy for Panahi because he's doing it in a way that not many people would be able to do, which is again forgive violence, forgive revenge, forgive all these angry emotions, and he has his characters go through that, and there's humor involved
I was just
in
gonna
this
say it's
film
also
too.
just funny and it's like a road
Yeah,
movie. It's a heist movie all in a way.
yeah, it's a high, but then it just it has that final moment, and it just again it's that it will always be there in the back of your mind. You'll move on through life, you'll create the next movie, you'll do the next thing, you'll
It's
speak at the next
always
place.
there.
It's always there. And I just find that to be I always thought, and I said this, I think it was so deserving of the Palme d'Or. And it wasn't just because Juliette Binoche's his friend. I think it is I think that this is a movie that we'll look back on as like there's a couple of films this year where you're like, that's kind of important that got made. And it's it's a truly special film. So
Okay, you're number six. Wondering if we're gonna have lots of stuff that's the
are you
same
ready to
one.
cry?
Oh
You
gosh.
ready to cry? My number six is
I think I'm crying at number two.
okay. Well, I'm crying at number six. So my number six is Chloe Zhao's Hamnet. Is that your number two?
Yes.
Yeah, move down a little bit, but still, nonetheless, a top 10 film of the year for me. Um, this is Chloe Zhao's stunning portrait of the what Maggie O'Farrell's novel sort of uses as a what if of for the Shakespeare family, and particularly Anne Hathaway or Agnes in this film, what it was like to lose their son Hamnet and what it was like for Will Shakespeare to create art out of pain. And I think that the movie is being unfairly maligned by those as sort of grief porn or tragedy, tragedy porn or, just emotionally manipulative. I think that the movie is one of pure heart and one of the most heartbreaking depictions of loss that I've seen in quite some time, and how we deal with grief in such a hard way, and how we're hard on each other, and hard on the people that we love. I think that it's also being lost in the shuffle is what a beautiful love story it is
And what a
in the first
passionate,
half.
hot love story,
What
which
a
just
hot it is, but just also just attraction, to each other through art, through spirituality, through connection. And then it is a beautiful look at family that comes through societal differences and odds of the time. And then it is this damning depiction of what art can cost you, right? Because there's a lot of what Agnes feels is that, like, because of Will's absences, this happened. Him going to London caused some of this prophecy, and how much of that plays into the factor. But then the ending of this movie is a massive amount of forgiveness and a massive amount of catharsis
of
that I think
understanding of
an understanding oneers
how different one can grieve and how
to
grief.
communicate that,
Yes,
you
exactly.
know,
And that
and
you're not seeing how the other one is dealing with what they're dealing with
I,
until you get the full picture. If you ever
I
do.
think I think Zhao understands the ethereal nature of the world that she's creating, as well as within the more conventional moments of the film. And I think she creates something truly special, along with Jesse Buckley, who delivers a powerhouse performance, that I think that is the performance of her career. I think Mescal is delivering some of his strongest work. I think Jacoby Jupe is the heart and soul of this movie. And there's just a moment when he's passed away and he's in this cloaked world, this in between the present and the afterlife. And it's truly one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever seen. I think Chloe Zhao, after her little Marvel misstep for some, even though I don't think that that movie is terribly bad, continues to just impress from a visual standpoint, and allows audiences to emotionally connect in ways that I don't think many directors can.
Ryan, I hate the whole these two manipulating movie discussion. I
I
mean,
agree.
Jafar Panahi, manipulates you. Any horror film manipulates you. Kramer versus Kramer. My God. I mean, what does that
Ordinary
mean?
people
What the
manipulates you.
I hate that. I mean, you don't have to like this movie, and you certainly don't have to be affected by it. I respect more the critics and the viewers I've talked to who actually say it didn't make me cry or I didn't really feel those themes. That I think there's several movies that I didn't feel the themes. I didn't cry at 1 minute at Surat and didn't really understand the themes in that either, but people
Yeah.
do. And so that is fine. You can have that and you don't have to feel it and you don't have to feel but for me, this was such an emotional experience, such an emotional because I recognize things, about being sort of in a relationship where art and expressing oneself through writing or through other ways is very important and how differently one can handle things, but at the same time, how one can communicate through, like we were talking about at the beginning of this show, how one can communicate through a piece of art and understand each other in that way. I think the loss of a child and how one deals with this was very, very powerful. Jesse Buckley is incredible. There's a lot of also from terms of craft, the production design was beautiful, the cinematography is beautiful, and not to mention the score. I also am so sick of hearing that why did they use that piece of Max Richter's score? And we already heard that in so many movies in Arrival. Yeah, okay, well let's start doing, Vivaldi in every single movie that you can. I mean, people are allowed to use a very powerful piece of music if it works and is the right piece of music for this film. So I'm not quite sure I understand the criticism that has become it. So yeah, it's my number two. So that's how
No,
much it meant to me.
no, I totally agree with everything that you're saying. I think that there's not to get too into the weeds of it because I think some of it has to do with award season. I think some of it has to do with it winning and being such a predominant figure within the film festival circuit. But there is no denying its emotional impact on audiences. I'll tell you a funny story real quick, okay? I was walking into the Alamo Draft House to see Nia DaCosta's The Bone Temple, and I had to wait in a little bit of a line. And then I realized I was in the wrong area for the press, and so I went around. But while I was waiting for like the 1 minute, a screening of Hamnet was releasing at the Draft House, and every single person I saw walking out of that theater was a fucking mess and like having to collect themselves. And I think that what some people, mostly men, don't understand is like this movie is it doesn't have to be this sort of binary, it's good, it's bad. It can be more complex. Chloe Zhao is a mass, like I'll say this is like my friend Jay Ledbetter, who's my co-host at Director Watch. This is a movie I thought was made up his wheelhouse, and he just didn't fully connect with them. He's like, I respect the film and the craft and everything, and to your point, he's just like, it just didn't connect with me emotionally. I couldn't do it. And for a guy that anytime a movie's about a parent or in particularly a son, I would have like, holy crap! I thought that that would be for him, and it wasn't. Um, but there seems to be the knives out for it, and I think then it's sort of a byproduct of award season rather than it being about the film itself. Because I don't hear enough people actually talking about why they don't like it, rather than why they don't want it to win awards. And I think that those are two distinctly different things that discredit this movie's ability to try to do it in, I think, unconventional ways at times. There are conventionalities to the story, but she is not a conventional filmmaker in any stretch of the imagination. And she does it with so grounded and within these emotion of these characters and empathy. Like you were talking about that, like the whole play and showing of Hamnet are moments where he's conveying not only to the audience what this play is, he's conveying to his wife why he misses his son so much. It's so beautiful to see that, and she connects with it all the way through. And yeah, I just don't know how you don't like it.
No,
like
and
like
I don't understand because some of the criticism I heard is yes, of course I know how it must be how horrible that it's sad to lose a child. I mean, those are horrific scenes, but that's not what I personally was crying at the most. What I was crying at the most is when the connection between the two of them, as to how, the understanding that they were actually both grieving in different ways, and that's where the crying comes in. Anyway, we don't have to talk about the people that don't like it, that don't like it, but I really liked it. My
No,
number
I love it.
six,
Yes.
an emotional experience in another way, and that's Zach Kreger's Weapons.
All right.
Love this movie. You have this here, don't you?
This is my number three of the
Okay,
year.
great. Um, so the surprise of the year for me, the story of is it 17? Yeah, 17 children from the same classroom that just mysteriously disappear. And then you follow the different characters in this movie in different storylines, and it introduces one of the best horror characters to come to film history in a long while, and that's Aunt Gladys, portrayed by Amy Madigan. We've talked a lot about her on shows before. An incredible cast: Julia Gardner, Alan Albright, Austin Abrams. They're all fantastic, and it has so many themes within it. It has themes of from school shooting to the narcissism of adulthood. It's a really was the surprise of the year for me. Love this movie.
It's a movie about not just all those things that you're talking about. It's a movie also about addiction. It's a movie about grief. It's a movie about
About parents' addictions.
parents' addictions. A movie about how does one pick themselves up after a tragedy? How do we cope with loss? Kreger has talked immensely about losing one of his friends and collaborators from The Wise Kids You Know, and using that as sort of the launching point here. I think a lot of people got frustrated with the fact that, like, does Kreger make a stand on this film or not? That's not the damn point of this movie. The point of movies like this is the movies of like David Lynch and others of like, I present you with a movie with broad but yet fascinating multitudes of ideas. And I was up for the audience to take away what they feel in those moments. It can be about school shootings, it can be about grief, it can be about trauma, it can be about all these different things. But the number one thing is that the audience isn't wrong. It's what they take in. You know, when you watch the end of Inception, do you believe that the spinning top goes down or not? It's up for you as the audience to figure that out, not for Christopher Nolan to tell you. And I think that that is what was so frustrating about listening to some of this, the opinions of Weapons. It's like, this is actually what we're supposed to have in our horror movies and what we're supposed to have in blockbusters in general, is that we're supposed to have dialogues and discussions about what we take in and what we take out. These characters are so fully lived in. This puzzle boss is absolutely fantastic. You're on the edge of your seat. Every single vignette matters. Every single vignette is intentionally put together the right way. And then you have the final piece to this puzzle that has been lingering over all of it, which is Amy Madigan's transformational, wonderful, terrifying, brilliant performance. Another ending of the year that had, every time I saw my audience go and flip their lid. It is
So many good
truly,
endings this year.
it's truly one of those where you are witnessing the birth of somebody new in the creative form, from Barbarian to this, that understands how to poke and pick at the audience just at the right amount of times, where it doesn't feel repetitive, it doesn't feel manipulative, it feels just about right. And man, there's just so many things about Weapons and shots and lingering to even needle drops from George Harrison that just make you think, my God, how did he have all this in his brain? And it makes sense. And I can understand why Jordan Peele fired all of his people, because he didn't get this movie and Warner Brothers did in the bidding war, because it's brilliant filmmaking. And in a world where horror films have dominated the landscape of cinema as one of the premier genres that we have going today, this is the one that stands above everything
It did.
else.
It was such a it's pleasant surprise in every sense of
Yes.
the. All right, you're
Yes.
number five.
My number five, I know, is on your list, and it's got to be one of the missing pieces here. My number five is Joachim Trier's Sentimental Value, which is a movie that has changed for me probably more than anything else this year, because when I saw it at Cannes, like on the 12th day of Cannes, at like 10 o'clock at night. I just couldn't, I wasn't in the right place. I resaw the film in New York and I was a puddle. I was a mess. I've been thinking about this movie constantly over the course of of this season because I've just been thinking about the idea of a family forgiveness. It lingers a lot with my number one film of the year, of familiar forgiveness, but it's done in such a way that there's that line where Gustav is looking at Renata Reinsv's Nora, and he basically says like to the certain extent like how can you be so angry? You're so angry all the time, right? And I think it's different than the original cut that we saw at Cannes, but they changed it, and it's just like, why are you so? You're always so angry, you know? And she's angry at her father because of the past and what he's done. That they don't. She doesn't have her mother. That she could have used him when she needed him because they are so alike and that they butt heads. And I've been dealing with family members this year that are very much similar, but they're butting heads about medical issues and about the future of one's life. And to watch Nora and Gustav go back and forth at each other in this movie with with Agnes, with Inga, its daughter Lydia's character, it's stuck in the middle of this, trying to do it her way, which is understanding the house and the familiar past in order to bridge a gap that potentially can rebuild in the future. And using this house metaphor that Joachim Trier does is so beautiful. And then you have the insider baseball stuff of the film industry and this movie that he's made that is tapped into a place to hopefully rebuild, and the sort of way Nora pushes away from that, but she's clearly having this crossroads in her life, re-seeing the worst person in the world. This is, I feel like, a continuation of the character that Renata Reinsve created there of like, that's a person in their 20s. This is a fantastic representation of what it is like to be in your 30s, not just for a woman, but for anybody. Because at this point, you start thinking about, all right, I'm in my 30s. What do I regret? What do I long for? Do I want to be lonely? What's my career look like? What are the responsibilities I need to take on as my parents get older? What are their responsibilities? What are our relationships like? There's so much at the a meat to this bone, and it's wickedly funny. It's incredibly emotional. Stellan Skarsgård gives maybe the best performance of his career. Renata Reinsve continues to prove you right, Christina, in being the Meryl Streep of our time. And then you have Inga and Elle Fanning who deliver these pitch perfect supporting performances. Joachim Trier is just this rising up the ranks for me over the last couple, over this year of someone that is completely, just in control of everything. And we got to talk with him a little bit at Telluride, and he's just too cool for school because he can't be this cool and make movies this good. Like that's you can't be both. You gotta pick one or the other. But
Oh
just
yeah, sentimental.
absolutely
Yeah,
fantastic.
it's my number three of the year. I think it's another movie that is so layered and contains so much. And this script, which it's about family, it's about family history, it's about your birth order and what that means and what role you play in your family and the role not so much with the one you play, but the one that's assigned to you that you don't even want. And you don't realize that you're stuck in this order and the relationship that you have and not able to change things. It's a fantastic story of what we talked about in so many other movies this year about art and regret,
Yeah.
and what does Stellan Skarsgård's the character of Gustav Borg, what has it actually meant? Was it worth it? Was it worth it to lose a relationship to his daughters? And what has it actually meant something exploring his mother's story? And what does it mean to make movies in the Hollywood industry and Netflix and all these little things that are spread in there in this wonderful little package of the house and all that that symbolizes? I think it's excellent, fantastic movie. And every time I see it again, I discover new things, new little elements and new little explorations of these many different relationships. Because there's several. I mean, it's last time I saw it, I was fascinated by the relationship between Gustav Borg and his old cinematographer. The fact that he could see himself aging in this man who could hardly walk, and what does it mean? And that was also this small little vignette that meant so much and made this character even more complex and bigger in the situation that he is in his life at the moment. So, absolutely
I
fantastic
was
movie. My number three.
I was fascinated this on the third go round about the Eric character, the grandson, and his relationship and how all of them are sort of protect his mother and his aunt are very protective of the idea of his entrance into this world at such a young age. And Agnes, having this scene that, when we talked about the Scorsese documentary, I thought a lot about this movie and I thought a lot about Scorsese's own daughter being in age of innocence and how that was the only time she really got to actually see her father for who he really was. And there's literally a scene like that in this movie where
And how that's the most important moment
that's
of
the
her
most
life,
important in her
almost,
life.
or of at
And
least of her relationship with her father. How
she was so young.
to be
And
in
yet,
his spotlight.
yes, to be in his orbit, and yet for like Elle Fanning's Rachel, she sees that person up on the screen and it's such an impactful moment, but there's more to it than that. Like that little girl got to actually be with her dad and then he goes away, and yet Nora's carrying on the profession, and yet he won't go see her. There's all these just different little things that sort of bubble and build to the top, and about these characters. And I don't think that even by the end, once they've all compromised, and it's not over. Like the job of fixing relationships is never over, and it's never just tied up in a bow like he is here. But it's at a place where they can exist around each other, and that's a good place to start. And I think that that is it's a quite beautiful statement by Trier in this movie.
So my number five, we talked a bit about, and that's Marty Supreme. I had
Okay.
such a good time with this movie. Yes, this is the Safdie movie of the year. Timmy's fantastic as this hustler, table tennis player, Marty, who's based on a real character. Gwyneth Paltrow has a great run. Odessa Azion, Pamela Adlon's daughter, is fantastic. And Kevin O'Leary, who all of a sudden has a great turn in this movie. But it reminded me, Ryan, of a movie that I know both you and I loved, and we talked about like a year or two ago, and that's Catch Me If You Can.
Oh yeah.
The pulse of that, which I and the sort of relentlessness and how it just keeps moving forward, and the hustler aspect, and I think that really appeals to me, that type of movie. And again, the score and the needle drops are just fantastic. So I was surprised at how much I enjoyed this movie.
It's really good. I think there's just like some of the stuff with the dog I would have just like maybe pulled back a little bit. I think that was a little too much, but there is this just you're rooting for this kid, but Chalamet, whether he's playing a meta version of himself or a fictionalized version of himself, he's such a little shit.
He's
Oh
such a
my
little shit.
God. There that scene where he
And
says
maybe
these
that's why it's so good.
outlandish, anti-Semitic things at a press conference or like, around a bunch of reporters and he's backing up and it's, you know, not that I need to bring this back to the world of sports, but it is a sports movie after all.
Let's
You
not
know
just
what?
let one thing though, Ren. Let's not spoil
Yeah.
it too much because this is the one movie that I think less
No,
people
no,
have been
no.
able to
But I
see.
just do think that his cockiness reminds me a lot of the modern athlete. It just reminds me of the fact that like they will the shoot first out the mouth and regret it later. And so, but I think the movie is Christina another outside of also just what Renata's done in the last two films with Joachim Trier. This is actually like Timothy Chalamet making the statement for the youth of saying like I'm still in my 20s and I'm running away. I'm running away from the fact that I'm going to be 30, that I have responsibilities, that I have things that I have to do. I have to be an adult. Like I'm trying to chase this dream. You dream a lot when you're in your 20s. when you're in your 30s, you got to get realistic. So I think that that's the idea of dream big as sort of this monicum for the film and its tagline is like, yeah, dream big as fast and as much as you can because it's going to be gone soon. And I think that that's a very relatable thing for a lot of us. And you
But
know,
some people dare to summon the hustler-ness in themselves, and some people don't.
yes, I do think that like I don't recommend you being Marty Mauser or really some of the things that I've seen with Chalamet on the press tour. I've gone like, you're leaning too much into the character, but there's no denying that his performance is absolutely fantastic in this thing. And there's great, like you mentioned, all those supporting characters. And I gotta even say it, even though I don't agree with a lick of his politics.
Absolutely not.
Kevin O'Leary is actually really goddamn good in this, and
Yes.
those ping pong sequences are electric, like absolutely electrically shot. Darius Kanji, Darius Kanji's work, incredible stuff here.
All right. Are we sort of, what was your number four?
My number four was It Was Just an Accident. Your number four,
Was Sinners. So we've done
my
that. And your
my
number
number
three?
three was Weapons, and your
Okay.
number
And my
three,
number three was Sentimental Value.
and your number two was Hamnet. But we have not done my number two film of
Okay,
the year.
good. What's your number two?
So my number two film of the year. Got to go all the way back to the beginning of the year. My number two film of the year is Steven Soderbergh's Black Bag.
Oh, that high up. Nice.
That high up. Steven Soderbergh is maybe the most underrated director alive, because and the most versatile director that we
I was going to
have.
say, yeah, in a
I
sense.
think we take him for granted because I think people have not, or because he announced his retirement. And he's done this multiple times. He's like the Daniel Day-Lewis of directors. He's announcing his retirement, and then he pulls it back, and then he announces a retirement, and he pulls it back. But over the last couple of years, he's made some really fascinating films. I think this one is his best one in a long damn time. It's a 94-minute
It's fun.
just movie that
Taut.
moves this taut spy thriller. It's prickly, it's horny, it's sexy, it's vibrant. It's shot like any other film that you're going to see this year. And it is all about the idea of what would you do for your significant other. It's as twisty of an old British spy film as you've ever seen. It's got that out of sight Ocean's 11 vibe to it that Soderbergh has, but it has these character dynamics that feel like out of a Jean le Carré novel. And Fassbender and Blanchett are so incredible in this movie, alongside this cast of supporting players that really just make this movie go so well. And Soderbergh is someone that I just think that he makes movies one for you, one for me. I think he is always testing the form. I think he's always testing and making something different than he did before. A movie like Presence that he had earlier this year is a movie that I didn't think fully worked by the end, but it was a fascinating examination of what you can do with the camera for a guy of his age. And then a couple of months later is Black Bag, and this movie just is so explosive about trust, about relationship dynamics, about the idea of would you kill for someone, the idea of secrets, the idea of protection, the idea of just trust in general within
And
your
he's such an
partner.
actor's director. He gets such
So much
juicy
is,
performances out of the best actors we have, and
yeah,
it's something new every time. And
because Marissa Abila and Tom Burke and Ray J. John Page and Naomi Harris and Pierce Brosnan, they all are doing this and they look so stylish and so cool and they're sexy, but they're also insecure. And the one that's judging all of them is Fassbender as George Woodhouse. If there's one movie this year that demands me to beg for more from these characters and to see more, Woodhouse and Saint Jean, which is the characters' names of Blanchett and Fassbender, it's to see these characters because my God, it was just so much fun to have this movie for like half a year, and everybody was in love with Sinners and I'm in love with Sinners, and but this is the movie from the first half of the year. I was like, my God, we don't get movies like this anymore. We don't get these 90-minute adult spy sexy dramas that are just dripping with chemistry all over it. So, yeah, the one of just an entertaining, sultry pick at number two that 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 is so rewatchable. I mean, my God, like, and it may not be as important as the other films, but you said have fun. I think
Absolutely.
this
You
movie
just
is
they
fucking
nothing
fun, you
importance
know?
is not part of the deal here. No, I agree. It's an honorable mention for me. Great one. So your number one is After the Hunt, then I understand.
And yours is Splitsville, if I'm not
I mean,
mistaken, correct? Yeah.
we know
Um,
each other so well. We have the
we,
same number one, I
we have the
realize.
same
Yeah.
number one. It would I think we, along with every other critics group, seem to have the same number one this year. My number one film of the year is yours, which is Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another. Just when you think the maybe my favorite filmmaker of all time can't get any better, he's made a giant action packed epic satire drama
Emotional.
emotional family film in just he's made an epic for our time, and he does this every decade where he makes the film of the decade. He did this with um you could make an argument there will be or you could make the argument of Boogie Nights or Magnolia, pick your pick. You could
Both.
say, you could say obviously There Will Be Blood. You could say The Master of Phantom Thread, and he has delivered, I think, the film of the decade here. This so complex film. It's so complex. Every time I watch it, I don't know how he pulled it off. I've seen this close to a dozen times. And what I love about it so much is that this is a movie where at first everyone thought it was going to be this massive revolutionary, like, film. This movie is more meditative. It's about the ramifications of being on either side of the political sphere and the cost of being a revolutionary, the cost of being this radical on either side. And I think you see that within the decisions that Perfidia makes. I think you see that within the relationship with her and Bob, the web that she spun with Lockjaw. I think all that in that first 40 minutes is this cautionary tale about be careful of starting a revolution because it comes back around. There's always an end point to this, and that there's more casualties than just oneself. And then the movie takes its full shape as this family drama of and a personal one at best. I think Paul Thomas Anderson is examining his family and his familiar history with Maya Rudolph and talking about the world that they have created and what they have left over for their children. And the world that they've left one is extremely divisive, scary, with bad actors, with haters, punks, lunatics, white trash, all mixed up in there. And yet by the end of it, it's still this country that is ours. It's
And
a
the
nation built on
revolution
it.
must go on.
It
And
must.
it's in their hands.
It's in their hands. It's in their hands. It's in the hands of immigrants. It's in the hands of the people that are being picked on. I mean, you have that all within the the little Harriet Tubman situation with Sensei. And so I think that Chase Infinity is a revelation in this movie. I think Tiana Taylor is explosively brilliant. I think this is Benicio del Toro's best performance of the year. Sean Penn proving why he's one of our great actors. Regina Hall giving us some of the best 6 minutes on screen of anybody this year. And Leonardo DiCaprio, the biggest movie star to me of my generation, delivering his most insanely hilarious yet extremely mature performance of his career. I think it might be Leo's best performance of his career when it's all said and done. And for my favorite director ever, he's made a movie that I I didn't know I know we needed a movie like this. My dad talks about all the time why the 70s are revered so much. It's because movies were made of the time that mattered. They were of a sense of time and a sense of urgency and a sense of of filmmakers and people in front and behind the screen knowing that they needed to create something to evoke change and to evoke hope. We live in such divisive and dangerous times. Paul Thomas Anderson delivered something here for all of us to be able to be hopeful about getting through the next, not just the next 3 years, but anytime there's any sort of strife in our country, there's any sort of um, tribalism. He made a movie that w- we have to protect the things that we love most, not just our institutions. We have to protect ourselves and we have to protect the people they love. Wherever that love came from, that love is the most important thing. It's the most empathetic, beautiful, bold, original um, film I've seen in quite some time. I I cannot describe to you, Christina, how much I love this movie. And this man has is the reason why I'm a journalist today. And this movie gives me hope for cinema going forward that we can see this type of original filmmaking made at this grand scale. It's a masterpiece.
Well said. I don't have much to add except one thing that I want to say is that I think it's how much it says about today. I mean, this is the novel Vineland is, about the 70s and another
The 80s, yeah, yeah.
is and how powerful it speaks to us as viewers. The how he has chosen to tell this story, I think, is the most powerful depiction in 2025 of the current state. I think that's in itself just such an achievement because in here, as you said, is the family aspects, the dynamics, the humor, the everything else that you have packed into this. It says so much about the current situation that it makes it complex, yet it just flows.
I mean, it is 2 hours and 40 minutes of a nonstop ride. I
I was
mean,
at the edge of my seat at the end.
talk about cinematography A plus. The editing of this movie, that's to me
The
the thing.
score
Johnny Greenwood's score, which has and the needle drops. Like I think Chase Infinity's needle drop, or when she's introduced, and Dirty
in
Work,
the dojo, yeah.
and it's so emotional. And then Trust Device and frickin' Tom Cruise and some of these, River of Hills. I mean, these these needle drops that Johnny Greenwood puts on there that builds these tensions. And I'm telling you, Christina, I will. If there's one thing I'm never going to forget this year is is so many moments from this movie, but the camera on the cars as we're moving up and down this almost nauseating but yet brilliantly conveyed car chase scene that feels so different and bold for its time and something we haven't seen in a long time. But I'm just not going to be able to forget that goddamn letter that Perfidia writes to her daughter at the end of this movie. That is the message of what this thing is. And I think people um, connect with this movie in that way because you go into it being a father daughter story and you come out of it reeling. It's a mother daughter story. It's a story about love. It's a story about these people. And even Perfidia, after all the things she's done wrong, says, I hope one day that we can make amends and that we can fix what I caused. And it fits that theme that we've talked about with family and regret and the hope to rebuild something that was once broken. It's
And
massively empathetic
connection.
and connection. And that moment then afterwards, well, before that's the first time she calls, Bob dad. And then she goes and hugs him because she realizes I made a massive mistake in judging you. I thought a lot, weirdly enough, about one of PTA's mentors. I thought a lot about Spielberg in that moment, about how he judged his father for the mistake, for just the human things that happened at the relationship that ended between his mother and his
Which
father.
wasn't even his fault. I mean,
Fault. Yeah. And that he conveys that in the Fablemans. But then I thought about that as well here when it came to the ending between Bob Willa and Perfidia and everything that's involved there, that none of this was really their fault. It's just the causality of war. It's the casualties of war, the casualties of a revolution. It's brilliant stuff. And we haven't even mentioned the fact that it's one of the most insanely quotable films of the year, one of the funniest movie of the year. The customer service line bit with Leo is truly one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. I saw this tweet the other day, Christina. I'm sorry to ever posted it. I would credit you if I remember who it was. So I'm crediting you now as saying that this was yours. But I saw somebody that wrote that Leonardo DiCaprio gives such a convincing performance in that moment with Bob's on the phone, because we all know for a fact that he's never actually had to be on the phone with a customer service representative in his life. And so for him to deliver that is perfect. I think every moment that Sean Penn does is dances the line between absolutely villainous and despicable
And
and
Benicio, oh my
and,
God.
and hilarious. And then Benicio, my God, just the massive amount of empathy that that character has. And then the Christmas Adventurers Club. What a random fucking wild thing that was. There are two movies this year I took my wife to, and I took people to. And there were two moments this year that I looked at them and their mouths were on the floor. One of them was the ending of Weapons, but also the moment when one of the mom goes in the backs and cuts
It
Julia
cuts, oh, the
Garner's hair.
car scene.
The
That's,
car scene, which is
woo.
yeah, just yeah, exactly. And my wife just like kind of was like, "What is happening?" The other moment is when Tim has said goodbye to Alice and her banana pancakes offer, and goes down the
Goes down to
tunnel
the
into
hallway.
the meeting room. Very, Doctor Strangelove X vibes to that. And but I've never seen my wife just lean forward and go and mouth, "What the fuck?" Like, like didn't see it coming at all. Truly just that's the other thing about it. It's so goddamn entertaining, and yet it provokes so much. And this is the theme of the year, is that like from especially from the Warner Brothers titles, they invoke a lot of things to discuss, and yet they're so goddamn entertaining. So I saved the blockbuster for last,
On
you
that
know.
note, so that's our number. That an amazing year. Ryan, could you tell me your 20 quick?
Yes, I can tell you my 20 real quick. Just give me 1 second. Do you want me to go from 20 to 1?
Yes.
Okay, so my number 20 again was Nia DaCosta's Hedda. My number 19 was Blue Moon from Richard Linklater. 18 was Josh Safdie and Timothy Chalamet's Marty Supreme. Clint Bentley's Train Dreams was 17. Masha Shalinsky's Sound of Falling was my 16. Noah Baumbach's Jake Kelly at 15. Park Chan-wook at 14 with No Other Choice. Celine Song's Materialist at 13. Lynn Ramsey's Die My Love at number 12. Wes Anderson's The Phoenician Scheme at number 11. Kelly Reichardt's film The Mastermind at number 10. Mary Bronstein's If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You
Thank you.
at number 9. Uh, Clipper Mendoza Filo's The Secret Agent was at number 8. Ryan Coogler's Center at number 7. Hamnet from Chloe Zhao at number 6. Joachim Trier's Sentimental Value at 5. Jafar Panahi, It Was Just an Accident at 4. Weapons from Zach Kreger at number 3. A little bit of Soda Pop from Black Bag at number 2. And PTA's One Battle After Another at number 1.
Fantastic. So mine were Sorry Baby at 19, Wake Up Dead Man, Knives Out Mystery, Blue Moon at 18, Laura Poitras Cover Up documentary at 17, F1 at 16, Urchin by Harris Dickinson at 15, K-pop Demon Hunters at 14. There we have the soda pop. 13, 28 years later, the documentary Perfect Neighbor at 12. At 10, If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. Train Dreams at 9, Secret Agent at 8, It Was Just an Accident at 7, Weapons, number 6, Marty Supreme, Sinners, Sentimental Value, Hamnet, and PTA's One Battle After Another. That was our year.
Did you have some honorable mentions you wanted to talk about?
I think I mentioned the ones that I haven't mentioned that you mentioned already. I mean, I talked about Mastermind, but I'd like to mention The Testament of Anne Lee, which
Hmm.
Mona Fastwold's movie with a fantastic Amanda Seyfried. The voice of Hindra Had, absolutely gut punch, which really
Hmm.
knocked people out in Venice and well deserved. We talked about Die My Love, The Materialist. I thought The Baltimoreans, a comedy, was really good.
I
JD
still need to catch
Class.
up with it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was, I think you'd like that one. Is This Thing On? I enjoyed.
yeah.
Yeah, those are the ones, other the ones that we talked about.
So we talked about Cover Up was on your list. Wake Up Dead Man
Hmm.
was on your list. We mentioned Nouvelle Vague, Pillion, F1, K-pop Demon Hunter. These are the ones that didn't get mentioned. The History of Sound, which I really loved out of Cannes. Really beautiful stuff. Stop putting Chris Cooper at the end of movies because he's gonna make me cry every time. Stop
That
it.
was just okay for me, but
I know, I know. Spike Lee's Highest to Lowest. I was honestly surprised that it didn't make it there. It was close. It was close. But just for the Denzel rapping scene alone,
absolutely.
I
And
mean
ASAP Rocky.
that was like wow. By Gans Resurrection, this sort of
Not seen
five.
that yet.
You should see this
I
thing, and
know.
then Peter would love it. Just this 5 vignette section on what it means to be human and also the cinematic experience. It's really fantastic. In my last film, I'm glad this is the last film honestly mentioned. See, Christina thinks I don't know how to have fun. But in my honorable mention, in my number 25 film of the year, and Pillion was up there and F1 and all this stuff, my number 25 of the year, and it needs to be announced. Comedies, when they're great, can be absolutely fantastic. The Naked Gun was fantastic. There are sequences and jokes in that movie that we have been quoting all year long. Megan and I have been saying the Duchess to each other about Fergie all year. The snowman sequence would be a top 10 scene of the year. The whole bit about the TiVo and losing the first season of Buffy because she connected it to the internet. Relatable. Had that happen to me before. Also hilarious. There are so many gags in that. I mean, the coffee mug gag throughout the entire bed. Such a funny movie, and also just Liam Neeson in general. Like, my God, like,
Yeah,
uh,
that's a hard act to follow, and he did it very well.
and he's it's one of the best performances of the year. Like, spoiler, it was on my CCA ballot. Like, I was so impressed because to pull something off like that from him, from a dramatic actor like that we've known for. I know he can be funny, but man, I didn't think he could pull this thing off. And yeah, it was a little bit of a hit too. So hopefully, maybe they make more films like it. But yeah, very, very, very funny movie, and that would be my final honorable mention. Sorry, Big Jim, you don't make the cut.
Sorry.
No, sorry. Did you see that, by the way? Have you seen that
No, I
yet?
have to see it. I'm gonna
No.
have to see it.
She's gonna see it, folks. All 3 hours and 15 minutes of it. She's gonna plug in. She's gonna connect her tail into the seat and watch it. She's got it coming. There you go.
I'll see you in 2 weeks.
I'm gonna see you
We're
in 2 weeks.
starting our year together, 2026.
It's actually how it should be. But but you know what we're gonna have to do now that we've talked about 2025. You know what that means? We're gonna have to start talking about movies for
About 20,
2026.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's gonna be
And
the
we
next
can do
one
that in Los
in
Angeles
person.
in the Airbnb that you booked.
Look at that. Look how it all worked out, folks. No, but it's been such a good year of movies. That just what was the worst movie of the year for you though? What was the worst movie of the year?
After the Hunt, I thought was just did not like that movie, did not like Surat.
No.
Um, but not in terms of filmmaking. I thought Surat was, I liked the
It just didn't
cinematography
explore
and the,
anything by
no.
the end.
What about you?
Well, I guess Alpha's going to be next year, so I can't say Alpha. Splitsville, I thought was
Well,
just terrible.
that was
Um,
horrible.
you and I sat through Begonia and did like that. The worst movie of the year is on Amazon. It's called Holland. Did you watch that?
No, haven't seen
With
this.
from Mimi Cave, Nicole Kidman, Gail Garcia Bernal, Matthew McFadden. Um, it sucks. It is. I went to we saw this at South by, and they put on such like a big spectacle outside, and then you watch the film, and you're just like, my God, this thing blows. Like it's so stupid. So and I didn't like Fresh. Did you ever watch Fresh?
No, no.
The one with what was it? Sebastian Stan and Daisy Edgar Jones.
Oh,
I wasn't
that
a fan of
with where
he's like a can
Cannibal?
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
saw that. I thought that was the 2 years ago
or
with
like 2 years
some.
ago. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. No, that one.
I didn't like that one, and I don't like this. So yeah, it's just or you. I guess he's a serial killer. I don't know if he's a cannibal or not,
Yeah,
but
but there's something
uh,
with meat and yeah,
yeah, something with
yeah,
just slicing off
yeah,
people left and right, and it was just like, oh, he sucked,
yeah.
and
But
this
that
thing
wasn't this
sucks,
year. But
and
that really made an impression on you that you want to bring it up 2 years in a row.
it's because it's her film. It's her follow up. Like Holland's her follow up. So that's the only reason I brought that up. It's the only reason to bring that up.
So she's not
So
the filmmaker for you.
yeah, she's in a massive penalty box right now. So and then there's Wicked for Good, which is a bad movie, and we shouldn't support it.
Did not like Wicked for Good. That was
God,
an
whew.
abomination
Yeah, visually too.
in
Yeah,
every way.
every
And
way. It was there were just like things that John and Chu said post the release of it, like about his creative choices. And I went, "Oh my God, Universal, you made a terrible mistake." Because the creative, like the whole thing, like where they, and this is not to get on a wicked tangent as we're trying to get out of here, but like the door thing, which I actually was like, oh, that's kind of a cool like scene there, where they're holding the door and they're getting emotional. They're like, no, the girls came up with that. I didn't come up with
yeah,
that. And I was like,
it was all improvised.
of course, the one thing I would praise you weren't a part of it. Yeah, it's just the total difference between a master at the helm of his craft in PTA and whatever the fuck John M. Chu's doing in that movie. So yeah, and then oh my god, the whole Underground Railroad situation. I'm like, it's such a bad movie. I don't know how it's gonna make like a 500 million, 600 million, and they're like, how? So anyway,
But it was a good year. We
it
ended
was a
on
good
that note
year.
this year.
We ended on bad stuff because you just, you got to balance it out a little bit. But
Ryan,
no,
where can everyone read your stuff coming up 2026? And
you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, Blue Sky at Ryan McQuade 77. You can find all my work at awardswatch.com. That's where we do the main show as well as Director Watch. And Christina will be on in 2026. And right up at the gate, our first series of 2026 is the films of Warren Beatty. And so, yeah, yeah. Yeah, maybe I can get Christina on an episode. We'll have to talk about it. I think we'll talk about it. But yes, Warren Beatty, right up at the top of the season, and then it's only uphill from there. I'm not saying downhill; it's only uphill from there. We've got great series in my. We got the best series. We got the greatest series. They're coming. Director Watch. Go check them out at awardswatch.com.
and you can follow me on socials at Christina Biro and Pop Culture Confidential, wherever you get your podcasts. Ryan, thank you so much. I'll see you very soon. And rest in peace, Rob Reiner.
Yes.